The whole academy treats this kid like an absolute joke just because he's stuck at level 1, but he's hiding something crazy off the radar. Right before officially enrolling, he rolls up to the campus dungeon. Now, these zones always have strict level caps, so security tells him it is level 30 strictly. The kid completely brushes it off, sarcastically scribbles his name down, and struts right inside, stressing out. The watchman begs some upperclassmen to shadow the freshman and keep him breathing. But plot twist, these older dudes are actually absolute scumbags who lure newbies into raids, swipe their loot, and let the beasts take the blame for their tragic ends. They jump at the chance, treating this solo freshman like free money. But stepping deeper into the caverns, their jaws drop at a completely glitchy sight. This supposed zero is just chilling, casually melting a massive swarm of D-tier beasts with massive blazing tornadoes. The upperclassmen are totally mind-blown, but seeing the insane monster drops, they realize the payout is huge. Greed takes over, and they plan to jump him. They rush him together, screaming that bottom feeders gotta cough up everything to the alphas, including their existence. Facing their squad assault, our main guy just gives them a dead inside glare, totally agrees with their logic, and cleanly sidesteps every single spell. He's moving like an absolute A-tier monster. Before anyone blinks, he hits the head bully with a gut punch, so savage it launches him halfway across the cavern. Nobody even knows if the dude is still breathing. Our guy glares at the remaining thugs, promising them the exact same brutal reality check. Later on, Kyosuke crashes at his place and stares down at his school badge. The level 1 status? Totally gone. He is sitting pretty at 27, fully off the radar. Hanging in his room that night, the insane reality nobody could possibly guess is that he's actually the respawn version of the most insanely overpowered savage hunter from 20 years back. 2 decades ago, random dimensional rifts just popped up globally. Creeps poured out and started making everything go extinct. But to balance the scales, random humans unlocked crazy superpowers to push back against the nightmare. A couple of these awakened elites, Ingolf and Claudia, were flexing their skills to carry the civilians nearby. Meanwhile, their entire squad, dubbed the Golden Seekers, bulldozed a massive opening right through the war zone. The crew suddenly spots a defenseless kid absolutely losing it, bracing for impact as a beast lunges at him. One chick in the squad literally yawns, while a guy snaps at her to go do her job. The helpless kid just curls up, totally accepting his fate. Out of nowhere, a crazy fast boot connects with the beast, launching it through a brick wall until the concrete absolutely explodes. A teenage guy drops in right between the shivering victim and the threat. Chuckling, he glances back to check if the kid is still solid. Smirking, Misado calls dibs on the monster. The ground literally cracks as the legend launches himself forward, charging up his aura. His eyes spark with pure chaotic energy, and in a literal fraction of a second, he blitzes the front line, bodying the entire mob simultaneously. His own teammates are just staring, completely stunned by his massive flex. A squad mate breaks it down. Misado runs a time hacks build, letting him literally read the enemy's future moves. Honestly, his combat style is straight up alien. The dude is basically teleporting between targets, leaving nothing but neon streaks in his wake. Once the chaos finally wraps up, the ruined streets go completely dead quiet as the rubble clears. The squad regroups and pushes toward the main rift. Misado pulls off one clean slice, turning the final straggler into absolute dust. Hyped to finally secure the zone, he channels his remaining juice to permanently lock down the gate. Out of nowhere, the absolute unit takes a massive cheap shot to the back, shattering his cast. He gets totally launched, but somehow manages to stick the landing, bleeding heavily. Looking up, his so-called ride or die homies are just glaring at him, while a gigantic glowing trap activates right above his head. The exact same absolute beast who soloed an entire horde just seconds ago is suddenly totally paralyzed. Despite his crazy future sight, Misado totally missed the backstab, and panic is actually setting in for the first time ever. Trying to stay upright, he begs his squad to explain this insane betrayal. "Are you really asking?" One dude chuckles like a total psycho. Nathaniel flashes this toxic grin and says they struck right here, specifically because his broken time hacks couldn't see it coming. Misado is completely frozen, staring at his ex-friends. The girls drop the bomb. His level 100 stats made him too good, totally ruining their lazy cash grabs. Iwako and Ingolf complain that his obsession with playing the hero was literally dragging the whole party into useless danger. The head backstabber just cracks up, brutally confirming that his hero complex permanently ends today. "Catch you on the flip side," he mocks, ditching him as the squad bounces and leaves him trapped behind the rift's energy wall. Misado loses his mind screaming, begging them to cancel the trap. As the Golden Seeker's captain, his only vibe was literally keeping humanity safe from these freaks. Then it hits him not a single one of his supposed friends even tried to step up and save that helpless kid earlier. The panic was totally gone, leaving behind nothing but pure fury. Suddenly, massive roars practically earthquake the whole area, snapping him back to reality. He spins around instantly to throw hands, only to get totally blindsided. The view is honestly a nightmare. Dozens of freaky monsters are just glaring right at him, music, drooling for a bite. He quickly activates his future vision, but every single path just leads to the exact same dead end. His power basically guarantees he's going to take a major loss right here. Flashing a tragic smirk, he mutters that his story is officially over. Seeing the endless waves of monsters, he finally admits defeat and accepts that his tragic fate is completely locked in. Dropping his guard, he lets the inevitable happen. But right as he gets launched sky high, he scrapes together whatever juice he has left for one crazy play. Going out like a total loser isn't an option. He's gonna respawn and come back way more overpowered. He plans to max out his stats and completely wreck the squad that stabbed him in the back. Channeling pure anger, he lets his magic explode. This insane, blinding aura bursts right out of him, literally lighting up the entire dark cavern, letting out a massive battle cry that shakes the earth. He burns through every last drop of his mana. The fading magical sparks gently float down onto a teenager, passed out in bed. He suddenly shoots up in a total panic. Music, deeply staring into the mirror to inspect his new look. Checking out his fresh vessel, Misado just grins. The respawn actually worked. He spots familiar hospital vibes, but then panic hits. He has zero clue what the current year is. Music, terrified that his revenge plot might be expired. Scanning the room for clues, he spots an item sitting right on the desk. He grabs the kid's student card, and mind blown, it's been 20 whole years since that fatal day. He's rocking the name Asai Kyoske now. Even better, this fresh vessel packs the super rare void skill. Cracking up at his insane drop luck, he can't help but laugh at how overpowered he's about to be. Back in the day, his time magic made him an absolute menace. But honestly, no matter how much he grinded, time magic was always second best compared to the raw potential of void. It was easily the most broken tier ability out there. Fortunately for him, literally nobody in his previous era had unlocked it. Since it's basically a myth, nobody knows the meta for leveling it up, leaving this poor kid stuck at level 1. Our guy figures the boy probably got bullied endlessly for having zero useful spells. Showing some serious respect, he swears to make the kid's name legendary. Because of his old future sight hacks, he already knows the exact cheat code to max out this void power. With magical energy flooding the room, he's fully confident he's about to become the ultimate boss. And getting payback on those backstabbers? Totally guaranteed. But before he can start wrecking his enemies, he desperately needs to grind some levels. Kicking back. Music. He closes his eyes and dives deep into his memories to figure out the mechanics of this power. His old visionary perks reveal that this magic is literally all about manipulating stuff that isn't even real. Basically, he can just drag his wildest thoughts straight into the real world. Daydreaming is easy enough, but physically manifesting it is where it gets crazy hard. Super conveniently, he's got the ultimate practice dummy right there. He channels every ounce of his aura into his completely wrecked new body, hyper-focusing on forcing his cells to regenerate. A golden aura wraps around him, and in literally a split second, all the nasty gashes vanish. Sitting up straight, music. Misado flexes a bit and smirks, hyped that he's fully patched up. Knowing how the skill actually works, he can tell he's still a bit bruised internally. Still, spamming this move is the fastest way to power level. As his rank climbs, the stuff he can manifest will get insanely detailed and overpowered. Once he hits the level cap, literally anything he visualizes will just pop into existence. Feeling pretty smug, music. He grins at his broken new stats. Right then, a doctor walks in, looking absolutely shook that the kid is actually conscious. Panicking, the guy begs him not to move an inch, music, since he's supposed to be critically wounded. Playing along, our guy just chills and stays quiet. The doc lets out a relieved chuckle, claiming his recovery is literally a divine miracle. Totally lost, the teenager asks what he means by divine. The guy just drops his jaw, staring at him like he's crazy, completely baffled that anyone wouldn't know this stuff. He practically yells an explanation about some sacred pentagram deity, trying to brush it off. The doc figures the amnesia makes sense post-coma. Music. Heading for the door, he promises to rush order some medical scans just to be safe. Meanwhile, our guy is still sitting there, completely clueless about that whole religion lore drop. Even though grinding experience points is the main goal, he definitely can't ignore his side quests. He desperately needs to figure out this timeline's lore. Clicking on the TV, he instantly catches a retro broadcast about that massive disaster from 20 years back. Frozen in place, he listens as the anchor reveals the ultimate plot twist. The supervillain behind the whole tragedy was actually him. They actually pinned the whole disaster on the Golden Seeker's boss, Misado Kioichiro. Shook to his core, music. The dude leaps out of his hospital bed, totally mind-blown by how they flipped the narrative. The news anchor keeps yapping, claiming the boss totally saw the ambush coming but stayed quiet just to secure the bag for himself. Because they allegedly stopped this backstabber, the last 5 Golden Seekers rebranded themselves as the Holy Pentagram. Riding that massive cloud, these fake heroes basically run the planet now. Our guy just drifts to the window, trying to process this insane plot twist. Music. A bitter, completely unhinged laugh escapes him. His own squad didn't just backstab him. They dragged his name through the mud. They wrecked his entire legacy and happily stole the spotlight as global saviors. Shaking with pure fury, he absolutely refuses to let this slide. They are way past the point of forgiveness. He swears right then and there to absolutely obliterate every single one of them. The hospital room goes dead silent. Snapping back to reality, our guy takes a deep breath to chill out. He's gotta play it super low-key now. If his old squad finds out he's actually alive and kicking, things are gonna get super messy. Clicking off the screen, he snatches his phone and starts hunting for the training spot the previous owner of this body used. A massive smirk creeps onto his face when he spots the address. Totally nailed it. The kid went to Iwako's academy, run by one of those holy pentagram fakes. He chuckles, realizing how insanely lucky he is to score a lead this fast. Sitting up straight, he starts plotting out his ultimate comeback. Iwako isn't stupid, so he has to tread lightly. Plus, with the massive power gap right now, our big brain stands zero chance in a straight-up fight. Feeling the reality check hit, he just flops back onto the mattress. He knows exactly how to wreck them, but being stuck at level 1 means grinding is his only option. His moment will come though. Fast forward a few weeks of resting up, fixing his posture. Music our guy gets ready to finally ditch this place. The doc is staring at the charts, totally floored by his insane healing speed. He's honestly wondering if the kid caught a literal miracle. Misado just smirks internally, knowing it was pure, hard grinding. Giving the doc a quick wave, he finally bounces from the ward. Back at 100%, it's go time. Just from solo grinding, he's already flexed his way up to level 27. He chuckles, trying to figure out which dungeon he should raid to completely dust off his skills. It's been actual ages since he stepped foot in the academy. Mid-stride, some chick suddenly shouts Kioski's name. It turned out to be Asai Kyoske from his class, checking in to see if he was fully recovered. Playing it totally cool, he says hey while she rambles about how stressed she was over him. Right in the middle of their chat, some guy yells, well, look who showed up. The zero-talent loser finally dragged himself back to class. A squad of bullies swarms them, claiming he owes them big time for keeping him safe. I'm honestly kinda broke right now, the older student sneers, totally invading his personal space. Instantly, our guy realizes this is the exact same clown spamming his phone with death threats earlier. Before he even flinches, Karen steps up and tells the squad to back off. She's trying to act tough, but she is literally shaking. Seeing his friend Loki terrified, he gives her a quick thanks and completely takes over. The bullies crack up, roasting the so-called wimp for trying to flex, just because a girl is watching. Do we really gotta remind you that your magic is absolute garbage? One of the dudes deadpans. Kioske just coldly tells them to check themselves. He swore he'd do right by the kid whose body he jacked, and he's totally not the type to break a promise. Music, that absolutely triggered the bully, who instantly started charging up a heavy hitter spell without even thinking. Karen freaked out, yelling that throwing spells outside the dungeons was strictly against the rules, but the dude was too blind with rage to care, evaporating every drop of moisture around them. A massive fireball launched straight at our guy. Without even blinking, he channels his mana. In one slick move, he summons his own flames and shoots back a way more savage blast. The two spells clash hard, triggering an absolute nuke of an explosion. The rest of the bully squad is totally paralyzed, mind blown that he just perfectly mirrored their attack. When the smoke finally clears, the standoff continues. Was that seriously your best shot? Our OP lead smirks. Dripping with sweat, the upperclassman realizes he is completely outmatched by the kid he used to treat like trash. Panicking, he begs his squad to save him from this total embarrassment. His two buddies instantly charge up a combo attack and fire away, but per usual, Music, Kioske just effortlessly copies their exact moves and casually blasts them right back. The whole squad's jaws dropped when their magic bounced right off. No way a guy like him should have that massive of a moveset. Fed up with the nonsense, Kioske barked at them. "We done here?" Dead silence hit the courtyard before our guy geared up for round 2. Pure fire blasted from his knuckles, lighting up the whole zone. Those snobs totally bolted once they realized they poked a literal beast. "Where were you guys when I needed a hand?" he snapped, snatching a senior student's uniform. The top dog froze, totally shook, right as our dude snatched him by the jaw. Fire swirled wilder as he called out the sweating, shivering coward for spitting nothing but lame excuses. Staring down the bully, our guy unleashed his hit, claiming absolutely nobody was gonna block his payback. The atmosphere got crazy thick, just before a raw blast of blazing heat slammed into the dude. The elite student ate the entire strike head-on, completely winding him as he choked for oxygen. That shockwave tossed the crew like ragdolls, launching their boss backwards into a smoking, knocked-out heap. Karen just watched, absolutely stunned by Kioske's flex, while the terrified upperclassmen scraped their buddy off the pavement. Our main guy smirked hard. His grind to become the ultimate explorer was officially kicking off. The whole campus went ghost after the brawl. The crew lugged their guy away, totally bailing while shouting sorries. Everyone was just mind-blown over how insanely overpowered the new kid got off screen. Letting out a breath, he brushed them off as total lightweights before finally strolling indoors with his bestie. But the chill vibes didn't last. Walking down the hall, he was getting seriously freaked out stares from everybody. Tripping out a bit, he guessed he probably flexed way too hard just now. Someone pushed through the mob and pulled up on him. A voice dropped his name, asking for a quick chat. Our dude instantly pegged the guy as heavy administration like a principal or something. Shrugging it off, music, he tried dipping out, claiming the bell was about to ring. "Hold up. Never introduced myself," the staff member interrupted. "I am Yoichi Tsudai, head of the Biting Cat crew." The girl's eyes widened. She totally knew who that was. That was the faction boss Iwako set up. Kioske stopped dead in his tracks. "Got a second to chat?" The guy's vibe suddenly got way darker. Kioske knew running wasn't an option anymore, but maybe he could exploit this. Chuckling, our guy admitted he was pretty much backed into a corner here. Tsudai didn't beat around the bush, straight up asking if he was the dude crushing pros in yesterday's leveled zone. Keeping a total poker face, the kid acted like he was clueless about the whole thing. Deep down, though, he was tripping. How on earth did this admin dig up those stats? The boss mentioned rumors about a rookie hitting the raid zone, forcing him to do some digging. He found out cold thugs notorious for griefing noobs inside. Glaring, he mentioned catching the newbie multicasting outside just moments ago. Instead of panicking right then and there, our guy secretly exhaled. The boomer didn't actually know his real stats. Getting annoyed, Tsudai demanded a straight answer again. Digging through his backpack real quick, our bro played the victim card, claiming the morning brawl gave him memory fuzz. Plus, he was barely level 1. Like, mathematically impossible for him to pull that off. The older guy just stared blankly at the ID card handed to him. Checking the profile, he saw absolutely zero legendary traits. He was super triggered that this random nobody just wasted his day. Clenching his jaw, the supervisor officially ran out of chill. Giving a half-baked apology, he bounced. Before fading out, he warned the kid to stop acting shady because overtime sucks. Our main character just watched that minor headache wander off. The rising star dodged the bullet effortlessly. A wicked grin spread across his face. This boomer could be super useful later. He was basically the cheat code to infiltrate Iwako's circle completely undetected. Turning that suit into his personal puppet meant massive leverage. Better yet, the timing was literally flawless to test drive a fresh enchantment. Music? Somewhere else entirely. The admin wrapped up, dropping all the tea about his underground zone snooping. Some fancy dude roasted Tsudai for fumbling the bag so hard. Iwako just clapped back, reminding him to actually pick capable pawns next time. The dean bowed down, totally apologizing and swearing he'd fix the whole mess. Getting up super calmly from his chair, this holy pentagram guy basically threatened him. He said that if his whole dirty tactic of hunting noobs got exposed to the public, it would totally wreck his life. Out of nowhere, the noble completely snatched the guy's jaw, yanking it super hard. The room's vibe got super intense. Sweating and totally shaking in a cold sweat, the leader warned that even as a subordinate, he could just get trashed and thrown away in literally a single second. The dean totally agreed. But honestly, Tsudai was low-key raging inside over dealing with this crazy humiliation. In his head, he's just thinking he should have charged those little brats way more cash for all this trouble. Music. He tried playing it cool, but he was literally grinding his teeth totally stressed out. Heading back to his desk, Iwako mentioned he was still clueless about one thing, leaving the dude super confused. The old guy broke it down. The report said the perps were at least Academy juniors, but the logs literally showed 0 juniors hit the dungeon last night. He slowly turned around, just dropping his tablet right onto the desk. The director was like, either monsters wrecked the kids and Sudai covered it up, or another student actually clutched it. Staring out the window, he figured that second option made way more sense. Wait, you actually think that happened? The dean asked. His boss just nodded, completely sure of it. Iwako flexed that he was totally confident in his theory, unless some insane plot twist suddenly dropped. Hearing that, the dean suddenly flashed back to his earlier meeting. Could it be a rare skill? He hyped up, scratching his head. The director totally agreed it made sense. The dude smirked, just super relieved they finally cracked the problem. Standing up straight, he told the leader he'd handle it. Sudai was just obsessing over how that kid completely played him. Thumping his chest, he swore he'd totally fix the whole mess once and for all. Torches were basically the only thing making noise until a massive explosion rocked the dungeon when the seniors comboed their attacks. Barely dodging the spell's splash damage, a beast jumped right next to a student. The whole class completely bolted as the monster pushed forward. Glowing yellow circles completely lit up the zone while this guy charged up, blasting the beast right in its back. Super freaked out, the kids stared at the smoking monster while the dean chilled and told them to hold their lines. The guys were totally fanboying, staring in awe at the director's top pick. While everyone wanted into his guild, the prodigy yelled that he'd wipe the whole mob zone. His helpers basically gave him a sloppy respect salute. Music. Turning around, the dean was like, I'm leaving the rest to you guys, away from the squad. He finally got ready for his real plan. Grabbing this crazy magic artifact in his hands, charging it up, he activated the item, ordering the chains to track down Kioski's exact spot. Chains clinked super loud all over the dungeon as they flew through the air. Just like he guessed, the kid's location was literally nowhere near the rest of his class. The supervisor sprinted that way, already plotting music to fake the kid's total disappearance. Honestly, no one would even suspect a thing, since so much crazy stuff started happening right after Key got out of the hospital. The guy totally flashed back to all the recent drama. Like, first the whole noob dungeon incident, and then that massive courtyard brawl that left the kid completely wrecked. He remembered grilling the guys the other day, asking if those wild rumors were actually legit. The guys were practically crying, begging him to believe that the zero-skill noob literally attacked them with the exact same magic buffs they had. Just thinking about the fight had one of the students literally shaking and hyperventilating, claiming the kid pulled off the most insane spell they had ever seen. Squinting his eyes, the dean basically said there was absolute zero chance he'd ever buy that cap. Getting up, the supervisor was like, yeah, I already got what I needed. Hoping for a break, the leader asked what was next. Turning around, the guy told his own squad to re-educate them because he absolutely doesn't tolerate epic fails from straight-up weaklings. The dudes tried to fight back and rush the dean, but they got totally pinned down. But then, something one of the guys blurted out totally grabbed his attention. While getting crushed, the dude barely choked out a whisper, saying that kid wasn't even human anymore. The dean thought it was total cap, but their insane fear was way too real. To finally kill his doubts, he completely forced Kioske into attending this super exclusive special class. But exactly like last time, the kid used these insane illusions to completely hide his true self. The boss figured the only logical explanation was that the kid totally cheated using some overpowered gear. Chuckling, the headmaster bet the noob pulled some shady hack to wreck those kids, especially when a massive dead beast appeared up ahead. The further he walked, the more wrecked beasts he spotted littering the path. Checking the damage, he realized one insane fire blast roasted them all, making him wonder if those crazy rumors were actually legit. But honestly, a first year didn't scare him at all. Smirking, he knew the principal could easily pull off that exact same flex. Going against the head honcho was a terrible idea right now, but he fully planned on stealing his crown eventually. Once he took over, he'd snag that elite spot in the top 5 and basically run the globe, his maniacal chuckles bouncing off the creepy walls. To pull off that ultimate master plan, though, he had to keep his shady ties to those amateur trackers completely under wraps. Kioske was turning into a major headache, so the boss knew it was time to eliminate him, especially since his buzzing tracker meant the kid was super close. Playing it cool, the guy sneaked a quick peek around the bend to scope things out. He practically jumped as all his guesses flew out the window. Music? The teen was literally chilling on a mountain of dead monsters, radiating insane villain energy. Flashing a smirk, Music, our guy casually complained that he was completely sick of sitting around. Ducking back into cover, The headmaster low-key freaked out over how he got spotted. Wait, how did you even know I was here? Our boy mocked, literally reading his mind before he spoke. Yoichi just stared, totally mind-blown that the teen could predict his exact thoughts. Seriously, what kind of freak are you? He muttered, creeping cautiously toward the teenager. Kioske shrugged, claiming he expected the principal's favorite pet to be awesome, but up close, the guy looked super lame. Staring him down, the kid roasted him, claiming his habit of bullying weaklings for cash made him just as pathetic as Iwako. Stuttering like crazy, the guy demanded to know who leaked his secret, while the teen just chuckled, hopping off his monster throne. You clearly love playing the bully, but have you ever been the actual prey? Our fighter challenged, closing the distance. Let me give you a crash course. Grinning, the teen hyped himself up, ready to use his fresh upgrades to completely wreck this absolute fraud. Totally spooked, the elite guy glared at the lethal kid, clenching his jaw as they finally squared off, instantly charging up his magical aura. He summoned a blazing blade that turned the hallway into a total oven, screaming that he would literally do whatever it takes to win. Crushing the ground, he rocketed forward in a flash. He swung for a one-shot kill, but our boy sidestepped it like it was absolutely nothing. Seriously, that is your best shot? The genius teased, sparking up a wild, shifting fireball right in his own palm. He chucked the blazing orb like a missile. Yuichi chopped the attack in two, silently wondering if the kid was already totally maxed out. But as the flames cleared, a crazy lightning strike blasted right out of the thick ash cloud. He barely tanked the shock with his blade. While skidding backward, the floor violently shook, and massive dirt spikes shot up everywhere. In one incredibly slick motion, he completely smashed the ambush to pieces. Completely mind-blown by the kid's insane moveset, the blade wielder was literally left gasping for air. While stressing over that glitchy void magic, the headmaster suddenly sensed a massive power spike right behind his back. He whipped around just in time to spot the sneak attack, barely managing to parry the noob's brutal strike at the final microsecond. Iwako's lackey totally lost his chill, swearing he wouldn't let anyone ruin his ultimate goal. Both guys dropped their guards slightly and backed up. Our main guy took a beat and asked what the heck he was even scheming. The dude bragged that he was destined to be the top dog soon. Chuckling, he flexed that once he leveled up, he would finally score a highly coveted seat at that elite 5-star council. The hero questioned why he'd go after the boss when there were 4 other valid targets. Wait, you seriously aren't in the loop? He grinned. Yoichi quickly spilled the tea that the big council had actually totally kicked Iwako to the curb. The ambitious guy claimed that joining the elite squad meant infinite power, so taking out their most pathetic member was just basic logic. Shaking his head, our boy just looked at him with pure pity. He totally roasted the guy's toxic goals, which made his enemy lose his mind. Our boy admitted he was actually low-key stressing that Yoichi might reach the principal before him. Music, but then he hit him with absolute disrespect, saying his trash goals meant he was literally zero threat. The headmaster had never been this insanely triggered in his life. Screaming at the kid to shut his mouth, Yoichi charged, his glowing aura lighting up the room. While throwing hands, the elite brat kept yelling, demanding to know why wanting crazy cash and influence was considered a crime. He was completely obsessed with getting enough clout so nobody could ever boss him around ever again. Totally losing his grip, he shrieked about needing that ultimate upgrade. Yoichi ranted that joining the inner circle meant absolute freedom, plus access to everyone else's dirty secrets. So basically, he was totally free to claim Bourgeois for his own. Our main guy just completely tuned out the dude's trash talk. He announced, "Music." Playtime was officially over, shattering the enemy's blade instantly. The defeated boss helplessly watched his weapon burst into tiny flying pieces. The hero sarcastically thanked the guy for yapping, since it gave his magic spell enough time to fully charge. Freaking out, the snob begged him to back off. Right before dropping the magic, our genius teased that it was dancing time, grabbing the dude right by the face. A crazy blast of neon lights completely scrambled his brain. The absolute hypnosis charm hit hard, leaving him totally wrecked. With dead eyes, Yuichi completely zoned out of reality. As the trippy lights faded, the guy's free will vanished completely. Our boy just ordered him to get on his feet, moving like a creepy puppet. His body jerked upright instantly. "Absolutely, boss," the guy mumbled in a super flat tone. Kioske smirked at his awesome new puppet. The genius ordered him to stay laser-focused on their current goal, and the zombie-like dude agreed. Kioske told him to play it super cool. Instantly, his old rival casually spun around to go assist his class like nothing even happened. Music. That mind control trick was super overpowered, but you actually had to totally crush the victim's willpower beforehand. Kusuke had a massive smirk, loving how perfectly his entire scheme was playing out. While heading out of the cave, fast footsteps echoed down the hall. Asahi popped up, totally wondering where her buddy vanished to. Playing it cool, he claimed he and Yoichi just had a little private chat. Super confused, his bestie asked for all the gossip. Our main character smoothly lied, claiming they just brainstormed about chasing their ultimate life goals. Totally hyped, she asked if he dropped some solid wisdom. He smirked, guaranteeing Yoichi was definitely getting exactly what he wanted. Cheering up, she wished it would happen super fast. Right then, the senior boss yelled out that their awesome training session was officially over. Flashing a huge grin, Asahi excitedly told her best friend to tag along. Taking a deep breath, our guy was so hyped he showed up today. He totally just scored the exact puppet he needed for his master plan. The big boss wanted the absolute latest tea on that crazy situation with the brand new student. Dropping a laptop on the table, the guy confirmed a totally overpowered rookie was actually right in the middle of the mess. He spilled that this insane void power belonged to a newbie named Asai Kyoske. They had him locked up, and the kid totally admitted to wrecking everyone using a bunch of different skills. Totally lost, the boomer boss asked how that weird power even worked. Catching onto the old guy's total cluelessness, the younger dude just smirked, admitting he was clueless too, but offered to dig into it. Stepping right up, the manager volunteered to handle all the dirty work instead. Cracking his neck loudly, the older student figured that was actually a pretty solid plan. Popping his knuckles, he hyped himself up for a long overdue interrogation session, totally ready to make the kid regret all his massive mess-ups. Yoichi barely opened his mouth before a loud ringing phone totally killed the entire vibe. Annoyed, the boss sighed heavily, shooing the kid out to wrap things up. He picked up the call, trying to sound super important. Some girl on the line immediately teased, "Look who it is. My absolute favorite boss man. Love that you actually picked our pitch yesterday." Realizing it was the big CEO from Lay Companies, the old guy instantly told her to drop the fake act. Roxy just cracked up, absolutely loving that he didn't fall for her little joke at all. She kept going, reminding him they were still business besties, feeding off the exact same awful government leftovers. The boss fired back, chilling in his squeaky seat, that she was literally always exactly the same. But he was insanely swamped and definitely couldn't chat right now. What could possibly keep the corrupt boss, who steals all the school funds, so incredibly occupied? She totally joked. Music? Completely done with her. Iwako spat out that he was looking into some kid rocking that weird void power. He was super confused, wondering what a total loser with a totally trash skill like that could even manage to pull off. Nodding along, the dude argued that it was still a super rare trait, meaning literally anything crazy could pop off. Lele smirked, totally hooked on the hot gossip, and asked if he meant something totally insane, like Misado Kioichiro's crazy time-bending stuff. The boss just went dead quiet. Suddenly, the girl heard a massive scream and violently yanked her phone away. The director was absolutely screaming about how the kid made him completely lose his mind, ordering her to keep her mouth permanently shut. Glad to see those awful anger issues are still going strong. Completely fair though, she giggled uncontrollably. Ever since the exact moment Misado unlocked his crazy magic, the whole dynamic between fighters and beasts completely flipped upside down. Chuckling at the wild memory, she promised to hit him up later if things were truly that chaotic. Lei finally said her goodbyes with a snarky little snicker. Iwako practically smashed the phone against the desk, cutting the line dead. Hearing that name still triggered the old headmaster like crazy. Honestly, it was the perfect excuse to finally snap. Pushing his way through the thick woods, the dude started brainstorming exactly how he'd wreck the newbie once he reached the cabin. Magic sparked at his fingertips the second he tapped the handle. All that bottled-up rage over Misado was about to drop like a bomb. The lock gave a satisfying click. He shoved the wooden panels open without missing a beat. "Sorry, I'm late, Sudai," he sneered, stepping inside, only to blink at a totally empty room full of rusty junk and cobwebs. The place was a ghost town. But before his brain could even register the missing kid, reality slapped him in the face. Yoichi ghosted right behind his teacher, weapon drawn. The guy spun around, but the razor-sharp edge was already hovering near his nose. The headmaster casually caught the blade barehanded, dead in its tracks. Surrounded by swirling smoke, he smirked about being completely lowballed. He kept running his mouth, claiming the kid's massive ego was just because he lucked out with some fancy divine blessing. Pure magical energy danced across the old guy's knuckles while he glared down the teenager. "You seriously thought you could take me out?" The ex-saint mocked, blasting radiant chains from his palms that totally restrained the kid. In a flash, the dude was tied up and left dangling by his ankles like a literal piñata. Delivering a brutal kick, Iwako screamed that this pathetic warm-up wasn't even worth his time. The student crashed hard into the dirt, tumbling helplessly while completely paralyzed. Dripping with killer intent, the principal stalked toward his old pupil, lecturing him about how his stupid ambitions got him wrecked. The boomer stopped dead in his tracks when a random voice from behind called him an absolute moron. He whipped around to spot the trash talker. The hero quietly roasted him, calling out how the boss still kissed up to the elites while totally stepping on the underdogs. He pointed out the guy was still the same greedy scrub as always. Triggered, the headmaster snapped, screaming about respecting his ultimate authority, but the teenager didn't even flinch, just casually strolling right up to him. Absolutely, turning crimson, the old dude yelled that the kid was totally projecting his own flaws. Iwako demanded a name, threatening instant expulsion. Chuckling, our guy just told the boomer to take a chill pill. He mentioned he was finally right where he needed to be. And since this whole mess wasted his schedule anyway, they might as well throw down one-on-one. How about a little heart-to-heart? The teen teased with a massive smirk. He tossed the idea at Io Hideki. Sparks flew from Iwako's fists as he lost his mind over the utter disrespect. The earth totally quaked, kicking up insane dust clouds while levitating boulders through raw, leaking power. Squeezing his knuckles tight, the former saint swore he'd give him a brutal reality check on power scaling. Hidekake flexed his signature element, summoning a massive fist of solid rock that crashed straight toward the shack. Absolutely certain the kid was toast, he fired off the spell. Just surrender, the guy roared, throwing a punch. Instantly, the giant earthen gauntlet was right in the hero's face. A direct hit triggered an insane blast, echoing like literal thunder all over the battlefield. Cracking up like a maniac, the old dude yelled that this is exactly what trash-tier students get for acting tough. Thick gray smog billowed from where the cabin used to be, leaving behind nothing but totally trashed rubble. His only thought was needing a brand new torture room. He casually strolled over to dig up the corpse, strictly for kicks. Pulling an item from his coat, he kept walking and giggling to himself, annoyed by the whole hassle. Wiping sweat away, Iwako suddenly stopped dead, catching onto a totally weird vibe. The dust cleared, revealing a dark outline standing right in the blast zone. The elite stuttered, eyes practically bugging out. Someone casually stepped out of the smoking rubble. Didn't I explicitly request a friendly chat? Our guy quipped, jaw hitting the floor. The boss totally freaked out over how a mere kid tanked that nuke flawlessly. Pulling himself together, he demanded a name. Without missing a beat, the teen flipped the question right back at him. Locking eyes with a deadly stare, the teenager coldly stated they were already acquainted. The principal snapped back, screaming he had no clue who he was and demanding answers. Iwako, you're literally breaking my heart, the hero chuckled. Did I seriously slip your mind? He taunted, throwing up the exact same stance Misado used to rock. Staring totally blankly, the guy went into heavy denial and scrambled backward away from the kid. Freaking out, the snob convinced himself there was zero chance this was his old coworker. Then, it clicked, and the insane truth suddenly made perfect sense. Our guy just keeps staring him down, completely deadpan. You only read the headlines, didn't you, punk? The headmaster spits out, clenching his jaw and demanding he drop the act. Throwing a hand up to the sky, he still chokes on that specific name even after all this time. An emerald aura wraps around the boomer's arm as he screams that Misado Kioichiro is old news. The turf starts shaking while a crazy breeze circles him. Not even slightly impressed, our dude just lets out a heavy sigh. Stepping up, he drops a truth bomb about how his old buddy always lived in delusion. Panicking, the boss screams he'll end him if he takes one more step. With a cocky smirk, the kid already knows exactly how to play this out. Power pools in our hero's palm while he calls Iwako out for eating up everyone's fake praise. He hits him with a dark question. Was that why he actually backstabbed him? Totally losing his chill, the guy blasts a massive shockwave across the whole field. Magic locked and loaded, the fighter gets ready to clap back. Right before impact, he literally swats the energy beam away with his bare hand like it's nothing. Sweating bullets, the old dude instantly recognizes that trick. Kyoichiro used that exact same move way back in the day. The swatted blast slams into the dirt, triggering an absolutely massive explosion. Completely shattered, Iwako drops to the floor. His brain can't process that his old partner is standing right there after getting locked up. Walking closer, the hero casually admits that, yeah, he really was locked up. Spitting pure venom, he talks about getting tossed into absolute hell. Paralyzed, Iwako stammers, asking if he's actually Misado Kioichiro. The kid crouches down, admitting it took way too much time. Flashing a grin, he says it's been a hot minute but he's hyped. The guy didn't forget him. Mentally checked out and in total denial, The guy questions reality before jumping back up and screaming his lungs out. The headmaster snaps at him to stop playing mind games, because to pull that off, he'd literally have to die and respawn. A sickly green aura wraps around his fist. That glow lights up the zone, while the boomer growls that dead guys shouldn't talk. Pointing his arm, he fires off rapid-fire wind blades at our boy, but with zero stress. He just backflips out of the danger zone, easily dodging every single shot. Mid-dodge, the kid spots a massive dirt fist dropping from the sky, simply sidestepping the crush attempt with a cheeky smirk. Mind blown by those crazy reflexes, the guy desperately tries to scheme up a new strat despite losing the edge. Back when he rolled with the Golden Seekers, he was never the fighter type and got clowned for it constantly. Desperate to prove he isn't a total scrub, insane power starts radiating off his whole body. The aura spreads out as the boss basically claims total control over the battlefield. Dumping every ounce of his stamina, he charges up a crazy wind-earth combo he spent 20 years cooking up. He practically poured all his pent-up rage into this one ultimate move. A completely brand new, dual-element strike blasts straight toward our main guy. The sheer force makes the nearby trees violently shake before they snap and slam into the dirt with a deafening crash. The collision triggers a nuclear-level explosion, launching boulders everywhere like shrapnel. How's that for an ultimate move? The boomer wheezes out the question, glaring hard into the thick smoke screen. Everything goes completely dead silent. Feeling the tension drop, the guy starts cracking up, bragging loudly that he just did the impossible. He fully believed he just soloed the wildly arrogant Misado Kioichiro. Yelling at the sky, the noble flexes about his crazy glow-up. It had been 20 whole years since they last crossed paths. After all, way back, Iwako was basically a nobody in their legendary squad. Now, he's genuinely living his best life. He screams that they were idiots for sleeping on his potential, flexing how his Saint tier only leveled up year after year. Finally taking a breather, he's totally convinced that nobody can trash-talk him after a stunt like that. He was finally gonna be the undisputed top dog of the holy pentagrams, until a voice casually asks if he's done yapping, freezing the boomer on the spot. Casually dusting off his drip, our boy was literally just chilling, waiting for him to finish his villain monologue. Legs turning to jelly, Iwako stammers out, demanding to know how he dodged that nuke. Our guy just shoots back, asking if that was really his best shot. With major sass, the kid smirks and reminds him that surviving crazy stuff is just what the top-tier hero of the generation does. Closing the gap, our dude finally stops holding back and lets his own magic pop off. Wearing a dark little grin, the kid admits he gets to unleash all his pent-up rage now. Totally drained, the boss realizes he's picking a fight with an absolute monster. But after dealing with all this drama, there is absolutely no way he's backing out now. Getting ready to strike, he lifts a hand and channels his magic. A massive dirt hand spawns right next to our guy, who just stands there totally chill. The boomer smirks again, completely convinced he trapped his target. Letting out a huge yawn, our main dude, music, sighs like he's bored to tears. Throwing up a quick liquid shield, he mutters about his old buddy being way too loud. Iwako's magic literally just poofs the second it hits the shield. Super ticked off. Music. He demands to know if our guy actually thinks that'll take him down. The dude loses every ounce of his chill after hearing that comeback. Yelling at him to keep his distance, he spawns these razor-sharp gusts that zoom straight ahead. Our boy just casually flicks his wrist. Every single hit misses, while a literal tornado swirls up around his opponent. Throwing his arms over his face, the boss desperately tries to block the insane power of that clapback. Even going all out, his defense is basically paper. The gale launches Iwako backward, wrecking him against a massive trunk. Blinking his eyes open, his whole view is just Misado standing there with literal fire sparking from his fists. The pathetic dude has zero choices left except to grovel and pray his old peer lets him walk away. Scraping the dirt, he desperately tries to say sorry. Our guy just stares down at this whole mess with dead, emotionless eyes. The elite guy was secretly planning to use his buddy's soft spot for a sneaky cheap shot. Interrupting the geezer's sob story, our hero tells him to zip it. Leaking straight up villain energy, he mentions how they used this exact same dirty trick to lock him away back then, and he's not falling for it twice. Now the dude is actually crying to be spared, pleading with Misado about their old friendship while those flaming hands burn even hotter. Our fighter fires back, saying Iwako lost the right to play the friend card, not after turning him into an absolute monster out for payback. A brutal punch instantly wrecks the backstabber. An insane combo comes next, with every single punch packing a different elemental vibe. The boss stumbles back, running totally on empty. With his sight fading out, the only thing he spots is the dark outline of the dude he used to call his bro. Losing all hope, He realizes he messed up big time by poking the bear. One final, insane hit launches him through the air, completely wrecking the landscape. The massive blast literally cooks everything in the area to a crisp. Barely hanging on, the guy begs to ask a single thing, but Misado just rolls his eyes and says it wouldn't matter since he'd be passed out way before getting an answer anyway. After that crazy brawl, Iwako finally wakes up. Looming over him, Misado smirks and says, "Look who decided to wake up." The old guy totally panics, screaming while desperately crawling away through the dirt. He cries out for the teen to spare him. "Chill out, I'm not gonna end you." Our main dude drops super casually. The kid steps closer while the terrified boomer ends up trapped against some bark. Sounding crazy, intimidating, Misado checks if he's ready to spill some tea. Then he flashes a smartphone right in his face. He demands Iwako drop every single detail he has on this Lei Ruakshi chick from his contact list. The dude freaks out yelling that it's his device, desperately trying to swipe it back. Easily dodging the grab, our hero mentions how this Lei girl literally just called him earlier today, based on his logs, hitting him with a nightmare-inducing death stare. He demands to know exactly what they chatted about. Sweating bullets, the old guy admits she's flying into Japan in 3 days and just wanted to catch up. Our boy chuckles, totally hyped that his next mark lands here in 3 days. Dropping his arm, he announces his game plan is locked in. "You can have this back, but from now on, play it totally cool around Lei," the teen commands, chucking the mobile back at the loser on the dirt. Our hero threatens Iwako to keep his whole reincarnation secret on the down low. Tapping at the guy's chest, he casually explains he planted a little hex in there while he was knocked out. Flexing a bit of magic, our guy drops a major warning: spill his real identity to Lei, and things will get super ugly. He squashes a tiny fireball in his palm, and the sudden burst of heat completely terrifies the guy, leaving Iwako totally paralyzed. "You better keep your word," Kyoichiro warns right before strolling off. Chuckling silently, our hero admits to himself he doesn't even use that specific flame trick. Watching the boomer freak out this much proves the fake-out worked flawlessly, especially with how cowardly the guy is. Iwako drops to the floor in pure agony, while the teen decides against using mind control. He wants this guy panicking with his eyes wide open. 3 days fly by, and Lei Ruakshi is currently chilling on her jet heading straight for Japan. Yang, her helper, mentions they're basically there. You can hear the cabin crew on the speakers giving the whole "we are about to land" speech. But before the crew member even finishes talking, she lets out a massive shriek, completely jump-scaring Lei and her right-hand man. Out of nowhere, this masked guy grabbed a flight attendant while his buddy screamed they were taking over the plane. Waving guns in everyone's faces, they demanded the whole cabin hit the deck. Lei just stood right up, strolling over like it was nothing. The dude kept screaming he'd pull the trigger, but in a flash, she lunged right at him for the takedown. One hit was all it took to floor the guy before his crew even realized what hit them. A blur of motion later, the hijackers were completely wrecked. The flight crew just stared at the crumpled mess, totally shocked. Everyone started freaking out, cheering because the legendary Pentagram Saint, Lei Ruakshi, just saved their lives. Once safely on the tarmac, cops dragged the hijackers off while Lei and Yang watched the show from afar. Some older executive walked up to drop a massive thank you. She brushed it off, saying she was just happy to help save the airline's total PR nightmare. Her assistant carefully checked out a piece swiped from the bad guys. Lei pointed out it was totally invisible to airport security scanners. Lately, shady gangs are scoring hardcore gear forged straight out of dungeon loot, she explained. Hearing that, the executive realized his security detail needed a serious upgrade. "Kind of like that piece you're hiding," she teased, stepping close to tap his shoulder. Sweating bullets, he bowed quickly and promised to gear up. Later in the terminal, Lei was secretly phoning someone to let those hijackers go. Yang Xinyu chimed in, bragging about how perfectly their whole setup played out. Smirking, Ruaki admitted the whole fake hijacking stunt was actually a blast. "It totally sealed the business deal," she laughed, walking away without a care. They paused when a massive mob of superfans swarmed them. Seriously, the PR boost was insane. The crowd kept chanting Lei's name for her fake heroics as she threw them a quick wave and ditched the scene. Next stop, the Academy. The CEO rolled up in a heavily guarded limo. Hopping out of the ride, the clan boss muttered it was finally time to handle her real mission in Japan. Up in the main office, a scowling, battered Iwako glared out the window, his face covered in bandages. A sudden knock made him jump before Lei strolled right in, flashing a fake, apologetic grin. Once they sat down, she immediately pushed for updates on that rumored void attribute kid. Sweating a bit, Iwako stammered that it was a total bust. Roxy was spot on. The kid was dead weight. Guess having a rare trait doesn't mean you're actually special, she casually dropped while sipping her tea. Inside, the principal was freaking out. One wrong word, and the curse on him would trigger instantly. Setting her cup down, her vibe flipped entirely as she brought up the actual reason for her visit. She cut right to the chase. They needed to figure out the next guinea pig for their sketchy new drug. Chuckling to herself, Lilei crossed her legs and joked about how using a school for illegal testing was absolutely genius. Hiding out, our main guy heard every single word through a bug as they scrolled through potential student targets. Listening in from afar, he was completely disgusted by how trashy these villains really were. Seething with pure rage, he swore Lilei Ruaki would be the only one tasting true despair today. Over on the news, some anchor was hyping up the Pentagram Saints' big arrival in Japan from yesterday. Glued to the screen, he watched the media basically worship her for that whole fake airplane rescue stunt. He stared at her face, flashing back to the massive backstab from 20 years ago. It made him sick, seeing how she got filthy rich, selling weapons forged from rare dungeon drops. Piecing together that gross chat with Iwako, it was super obvious they were turning the school into a lab. Throwing on his school uniform, he scoffed at how flawlessly she played the glowing hero for the cameras, while totally ruining lives in the shadows. Fired up, he knew he had to crush this and marched out the door. Striding through the crowded academy hallways, he scrolled his feed, plotting his next play. Seeing the headlines reminded him just how insane the campus security used to be. His classmate Asahi Karin snapped him out of it with a super bubbly good morning, which he quickly echoed back. Peeking over his shoulder, Karen pointed out he was checking out the hype about the saint. Lei shoots back that he was literally just looking around. Asahi keeps chatting, totally hyping up the girl for wrecking those thugs. She also mentions the insane hype around the Great Serpent of Chongshan, instantly hooking our guy's attention. Karen breaks it down. The CEO actually founded this faction, and their roster is absolutely stacked with heavy hitters. Flashing back to Ruoxi's entourage, he figures those bodyguards were probably repping the squad. She mentions tons of kids here want a military track and asks his vibe, but he instantly shoots the idea down. But right before he even finishes his thought, it hits him. Joining Chongshan is the perfect cheat code to reach the boss. He strides off, thanking a super confused Asahi for the light bulb moment. Meanwhile, chilling up in the director's office, a sudden ring almost jump scares the guy out of his seat. He picks up, only to hear Kyoichiro demanding a massive favor. Sweating, the principal asks what's up, and the teen drops a strict game plan for whenever Lei finally reaches out. Cut to a sketchy lab. Some dude is hogtied on the floor, while a bunch of scientists aggressively scribble notes. The guy is totally losing it, gasping in pure agony. Right as the automatic doors swoosh open to show a super familiar shadow, Lei struts in, chuckling alongside her sidekick, Yang, casually asking the tied-up victim how he's hanging in there. He practically sobs, begging them to cut the meds and screaming that they're literally going to straight-up kill him. Without missing a beat, Lei brutally kicks him right in the jaw, sending the guy crashing hard into the dirt. Digging her heel into his cheek, she coldly laughs about never taking advice from a literal guinea pig, teasing him to lighten up. The poor guy looks absolutely mortified, while Ruoxi smirks, promising a massive power-up if his body actually accepts the juice. Backing off, Lei gives the ultimate green light to keep pushing, and the nerdy docs instantly get back to work. They swarm the crying dude, prepping another nasty syringe. Pinning him down, they jab him before he can even squeak out another word. Howling in pure torture, he tries to force out a whole sentence, but just starts violently hacking up his lungs. A scientist pins him flat against the tiles, as their boss just chills in the back, completely observing the whole chaos. Now, fully out of it, the dude is drooling on the floor with rolled back eyes, just weakly mumbling absolute nonsense. Lei just shrugs, noting the mute side effect and confirming the formula is trash without magic users. Spinning around, she demands more data. Marching out, Yang shadows her, bringing up the obvious truth. Their supply of human guinea pigs is running insanely dry. Ruoxi totally agrees. Scrolling mindlessly through her phone, she admits it's honestly time for another massive clan recruitment wave. Hopping in the elevator, the boss dials up Iwako to completely hash out that sketchy exam they brainstormed earlier. Lei lays it out. She really needs top-tier magic users, and she's totally tasking him to secure fresh blood for tests. Dead serious, he pitches a brilliant play, hosting a massive tryout at the academy to easily snag the strongest kids. She literally laughs out loud into the mic, admitting the old dude actually cooks up some pretty solid plans sometimes. Hitting the lobby, she wraps up by promising to drop the full schedule and exact rules into his messages incredibly soon. The principal hangs up panicking, praying he nailed Kyoichiro's script. Cut to a massive school rally, where Ruoxi's right-hand guy grabs the mic. He hypes up the crowd, announcing that the legendary Great Serpent of Changshan is actually hosting open tryouts for fresh blood. The whole student body absolutely loses their minds, completely shook that they actually have a shot at joining the elite squad. Kyoichiro just smirks like a total mastermind, knowing this is his absolute golden ticket to finally close the gap with Lei. Fast forward to the packed stadium. Kids are buzzing as the main announcer grabs the spotlight, hyping them up for showing out. He breaks down the crazy rules of the whole gauntlet and starts instantly barking out the first major set of directions. Chilling in the back, Asahi realizes there's no fast-tracking this to reach Lei. He's gotta totally crush these trials first. Playing it cool worked perfectly with Iwako before, but playing it safe here is totally off the table for this crazy exam. He's deep in thought, plotting how to flex hard enough to make Lei second in command, and the judges obsess over him. Deciding to go all out, his eyes lock in with pure confidence. Leaning against a wall, a voice suddenly interrupts his vibe. Karen jogs up, wondering if he's aiming for the clan tryouts. He gives a cool nod, bouncing the exact same question back. Internally, he's praying she avoids getting dragged into his mess. Looking totally timid, Karen admits she's way out of her league. Super curious, he just listens as she drops a hint that she's pushing through anyway, because of her own secret personal motives. Suddenly beaming, she hits him with a totally pumped-up speech to crush this together. And honestly, he can't help but agree. Completely fired up and locked in, he knows failing isn't an option. Right on cue, the announcer screams that the magic scaling test is starting. He gestures at this glowing orb, telling everyone it's basically a scanner to check their raw mana levels. The guys in suits get all the kids into a queue, barking orders for them to tap the relic individually. One hyped-up kid struts over, screaming as he smacks the rock. Afterward, the proctor just sighs and jots down his score. The next judge yells out a name, and our guy strolls to the front. He flashes his ID, offering a super polite greeting to the tester. The guy in charge barely even acknowledges him with a head bob. Seeing the kid is only level 30 with a supposedly trash void affinity, the judge immediately writes him off. But Kyoichiro just smirks and grabs the artifact. Instantly, the whole machine erupts into a crazy light show of pure, chaotic energy. Freaked out, the proctor throws his arms up to block the blinding flash, blasting from the scanner. Everyone else in the room is totally mind-blown by the insane glare and massive shockwaves whipping through the air. The crazy glow finally fades once he lets go. He casually checks if he passed, and the panicked judge instantly agrees. Asai just casually strolls off, while the speechless proctor realizes he's definitely dealing with an S-tier beast. Moving on to practical exams, our boy coats himself in a faint aura and whips up a basic dirt spell. The grader scoffs, assuming a tiny mud ball is his absolute limit, and raw power means nothing without real skill. Totally catching that vibe, the kid flashes a cocky grin before instantly summoning a floating water bubble too. Seeing such flawless control totally scrambles the examiner's brain. Before the guy can even react, our hero starts chaining together flames, sparks, and basically every other elemental combo. He effortlessly creates a literal solar system of mixed magic floating around him, making a bystander scream about him, using every base type at once. How's that for a so-called garbage void affinity pulling off absolute god-tier moves? He flexes mentally. Once it wraps up, Corinne runs over totally hyped, praising his insane performance. He appreciates the hype and tells her to crush her exam too, sparking a fiery look of resolve in her eyes. Stepping up to a dead flower bed, it's Karen's time to shine. She quickly unleashes this gorgeous, glowing aura. Her spell wraps around the withered little sprouts, bringing them back from the dead in seconds. Blossoms rapidly expand and open up under the dazzling glow until massive, stunning plants surround her entirely. Some haters in the back start talking trash, joking that playing gardener is her only trick. But our main guy is genuinely shocked, realizing she might actually have the insanely rare holy affinity. Karen backs off looking totally bummed out, making him feel bad since judges never know how to score such unique abilities. Meanwhile, in the background, he's just glad she's safe from his mess. But creepy Shinyu is watching. The shady aide texts someone that Karen is perfect for their drug experiments. The proctors face the anxious crowd, dropping the bomb that the final exam is a full-on combat trial. Yang gestures toward a squad of absolute beasts, revealing they'll be acting as the sparring partners. A panicked kid in the crowd screams, asking if they seriously have to brawl against the lethal Viper Syndicate. Trying to chill them out, he insists it's completely safe, since the fighters are just grading their forms, and taking an L won't hurt their scores. Secretly though, he's laughing to himself because no random newbie stands a chance against these pros. One seriously buff dude limbers up, chuckling as he asks our hero if he's the rookie making all the noise today. He mocks the kid's high test scores, bragging that textbook stats mean absolutely nothing in a street brawl. The teenager just bows his head, politely saying he's ready for a good lesson from the veteran. The bad guy sneers, promising to one-shot him before charging up a massively destructive ground strike. The match kicks off with huge boulders flying right at the kid. Slipping into a guard, he uses gusts to freeze the debris dead in its tracks. With just a super casual wave, he completely reverses the attack, blasting the rock straight back at the stunned brute, who barely blocks the heavy hits. The veteran is absolutely reeling, mind blown that some rookie countered his killer move with zero effort. Jumping away to regroup, the goon looks up to find his target has completely vanished, making him freak out even harder. By the time he registers what's happening, Kyoichiro is already standing behind him, pressing a razor-sharp frost dagger against his neck. He smirks, asking if baiting attacks for a stealth kill is what he meant by real combat, sarcastically thanking him for the tips. The ref instantly calls the match for Kyoichiro. Dropping his spell, the dude gets absolutely mobbed by mind-blown classmates and proctors. Lost in the massive crowd, a totally shook Yang can hardly believe this random kid just wrecked a full-fledged clan member. Highly suspicious, he desperately tries figuring out this mystery guy's true identity. Later that night, Lei is chilling hard in her plush chair, getting a phone update that the trials are finally wrapped up. Yawning, she demands to know if they snagged any fun little lab rats, and her caller drops a hint about one standout rookie. Oh, a fun little punk? She smirks. Assistant Yang hypes the kid up, saying he absolutely crushed the test and put on a crazy show. But there is a huge catch. This dude is rocking the super rare void power, he warns her. That gets Lilei thinking, remembering the boss dropping hints about a guy exactly like that. She hops up with a totally villainous smirk, chuckling like a total psycho. She brags about finally scoring the ultimate guinea pig for her twisted experiments. Cut back to the main hall, where Yang steps up to the mic to drop the massive reveal on who actually survived the cut. He crowns Asai Kyoske as the absolute #1, though our guy just stands there looking completely stone cold. A bunch of kids nearby start whispering that the whole test was a joke, and his win was basically a total no-brainer anyway. In his head, our main guy is celebrating a flawless victory, knowing he is one step closer to Lei. Coming in hot at #2 is Asahi Karen. The announcer calls her name, leaving the poor girl completely shell-shocked. She practically vibrates with pure hype, while a totally mind-blown Kyoichiro realizes she got dragged into this mess as well. Running the facts, he is super shocked that just packing a rare power was literally the only requirement to beat this crazy trial. Piecing it together, he figures out Ruaki is definitely running some shady, underground scheme here. Glancing at Asahi, he just knows her acceptance has some dark hidden motive. She turns to him, flashing the absolute brightest grin ever, just soaring on cloud 9 over getting picked. He lets out a soft sigh and smiles back, silently promising to completely destroy anyone who tries hurting his bestie. Locking in with deadly focus, he sets his ultimate game plan, crush his main objective while keeping her totally safe from the shadows. Fast forward a couple of days after the brutal exams, the winning squad gets called up to the massive Japanese base of the legendary Chongan Serpent faction. They all gather around as Yang Xinyu gives his big welcome speech. He breaks down the schedule, saying today is all about running some intense physicals before anyone starts doing actual clan missions. Asai's face instantly drops into killer mode the second the lackey mentions Lilei Roxy is making a special guest appearance. Their guide leads the teen squad deeper inside, promising a meet and greet with the big boss right after their exams. Kicking off a quick little facility tour, roaming the massive halls. The newbies are just drooling over the architecture. Asai is itching to confront that witch right now, but he refuses to ditch Karine. Completely blind to his heavy internal drama, she scopes out the massive area and admits this giant fortress gives her major anxiety. Our guy just nods along to keep up appearances. Facing him directly, she confesses that even with the crazy jitters, scoring a spot in the Serpent Squad feels like an absolute dream come true. Kyoichiro totally pivots, asking why she was so desperate to join Changshan anyway. Rubbing her neck, she admits her mom is super sick and the medical debt is literally crushing them. Finally getting the full picture, he realizes Karen's hustle is purely to save her family, not just chasing clout. Sliding back to the main pack, he hard commits to playing the ultimate bodyguard for her, no matter what goes down. Xinyu gestures down a super creepy staircase to lead the way. Our dude immediately clocks this as the entrance to their super secret underground hub. The crew walks into this super dim room absolutely packed with monitors, while a ton of sketchy guys in black suits form a creepy circle around them. He instantly realizes they just walked straight into a freakish lab and ties these goons to the previous shady attacks. Right on cue, Yang orders the exits totally sealed shut. Hearing that heavy mechanical click, panic instantly sweeps through the entire teen squad. Smirking deep down, our hero knows these psychos are totally locking them in for good. Two freaking out kids rush Shin Yu, begging for some kind of explanation. Pure toxic rage just rolls off the guy as he snaps at them to shut their mouths, absolutely terrifying the poor rookies into total silence. Like I already told you, we are doing a highly thorough checkup, he hisses, snatching a super sketchy glass vial straight from a guard. Flexing a terrifying needle loaded with glowing red juice, he boldly announces they are about to test drive their top-secret new chemical formula. He hypes up the serum, bragging it is brewed from hardcore dungeon loot and is designed to massively jack up both physical stats and magical power. One kid looks super confused, while another stutters out a question about whether a power buff like that is actually a massive win for them. Asai confidently steps up, demanding to know the horrific side effects they are hiding. Yang just laughs like a total maniac, pointing at a giant screen and saying a demo is way easier. The monitor flickers on, showing horrible footage of a trapped kid screeching his lungs out as a masked figure creeps up with a needle. The whole room freezes, totally unable to process this absolute living nightmare playing out right in front of them. The victim on screen violently throws up, starts muttering absolute gibberish, and instantly blacks out cold. The guys start freaking out for answers. Yang just shrugs, calling that horrific scene a classic mismatch side effect. Mystery solved. You have got to be kidding me. The guys scream, refusing to become lab rats. Sparking up blaze and splash magic, the duo squares up for battle. Rushing in blindly, they aim straight for the boss, screaming at him to unlock the doors. Meanwhile, Kioske pulls a terrified Asahi close, demanding she stay right behind him. The main lackey buffs his fists with heavy rock magic and absolutely floors the two dudes. Coughing up red, they hit the deck hard. Shin Yu just sighs with major disappointment, music, complaining about his ruined test subjects. Then, he cruelly singles out a trembling Karen to go next. Prepping the needle, he hypes up her rare holy magic, totally betting on her surviving this sick experiment. Creeping closer, he gets the sketchy glowing fluid ready, while the poor girl is literally paralyzed by panic. Before the creep can touch her, Asai slides right in to block his path. She stares at her savior in shock. When the villain asks why he interfered, our boy deadpans that he is taking out the garbage. That insult strikes a serious nerve, and the guy's face contorts into pure, boiling fury. Snapping his fingers, he sends a whole squad of goons rushing our hero. A thug swings wild, but Kyo effortlessly slips past, chopping the back of his neck. Wrapped in sparking electricity, the hit leaves the guy screeching. All the corporate lackeys completely freeze, totally clueless about what just blitzed their buddy, giving them zero time to react. Our main character dashes in to finish the job. Dropping massive combos, he wipes the floor with the entire crew instantly, leaving the final dude collapsing into the dirt. Absolutely shook, Yang cannot believe his elite squad just got one-shotted. Glaring daggers, Kyo warns the boss that his turn is up. Trembling now, Xenu actually backs away from the insanely intimidating teen walking him down. Panic mode activated, he realizes he has to play dirty now. Lunging for a hostage, he targets a screaming Asahi, but Kioske coldly intercepts his arm, reminding the creep about his strict hands-off warning. Yanking his wrist back in a sheer panic, Yang scrambles backward. Sweating buckets, the villain questions how a random high schooler possesses such insanely broken stats. Rocking glowing predator eyes, our guy tells him it is game over. Young Shinu is officially out of options. Shielding his friend, Asai gets ready to brawl. Trapped like a rat, the bad guy starts swearing wildly. Keeping her safe, Kioske murmurs to stay put, earning a whispered thanks. Honestly, she is just totally starstruck by her insanely cool classmate. Flashing back to the brawl, she realizes his combat speed was literally invisible to her. Sure, he leveled up recently, but becoming a literal god-tier fighter? That is insane. Glaring back, the assistant snaps at the teen for acting cocky. Asai just cuts him off, demanding answers. He presses hard about why innocent classmates are becoming sick lab rats. Yang just lets out a super arrogant chuckle. Smirking, the creep explains the obvious. Bowing to Ruwaki earns you some insane power boosts. Waving his hands, he boasts that finalizing this serum will push her stats to godlike levels. Disgusted, the teen asks if treating humans like garbage is actually worth it. Shin Yu casually shrugs, saying they merely recycle useful resources. With a twisted grin, he claims it is a massive privilege for teenagers to become disposable test subjects. Asai is appalled. That trash talk triggers a flashback of Asahi crying about joining the guild purely to afford her mom's hospital bills. He remembers how pumped she was, genuinely believing the Great Serpent Clan was her lucky ticket. Knowing she got manipulated fills our guy with absolute rage, making his knuckles pop and jaw lock tight. Pushing his luck, Yang smirks that the crying girl should feel incredibly lucky she got picked for his sick project. Beyond triggered, our hero hits him with an absolutely bone-chilling command to shut his mouth. Booming with wild magic pressure, an intense neon blue aura completely swallows the teen, blinding the villain instantly. Totally caught off guard, the goon stares wide-eyed at the kid. Furious, the boy roars at Ginyu, calling his whole squad pathetic trash who get nothing. Hearing his genuine defense, the girl's heart melts. Crushed by the massive aura, Yang starts freaking out over this insane power level, wondering how a normal high schooler is built like this. Masking his panic, the snake forces a confident grin. He smirks, claiming he would usually demolish cocky brats like him, but he actually kind of respects the crazy hustle. The guy put on his best corporate face and pitched working for Lady Ruwaki like it was the chance of a lifetime. Hand the girl over and you might just score an executive spot, the guy bragged. Asai immediately told him to shut his trap. Our guy wasn't about to let dirtbags like them slide. Yang shot back that he was making a massive mistake, flexing some heavy-duty earth magic. The lackey wrapped his whole body in glowing gold energy, eyes literally glowing. He dropped into a fighting stance, his raw power totally wrecking the floor. Asai instantly clocked the body buffing spell, ready to strike. Zinyu bragged that mixing that buff with his martial arts made him basically untouchable. Then, he dared Asai to bring it on. With an explosive jump that crushed the floor beneath him, the guy warped right above Asai, lining up a killer punch. Asai sidestepped just in time, leaving the dude to absolutely obliterate the empty space. Massive cracks ripped through the concrete right up to Asahi's feet, leaving her totally shook by the insane damage. Yang sneered, acting surprised that the kid actually managed to slip past his hit. Realizing that buff magic was no joke, Asai started cooking up a strategy on the fly. Out of nowhere, Ginyu rushed him again, screaming at him to stop dodging. Asai totally tuned him out, picturing his own spell, seeing his target just standing there. The lackey yelled out, taunting him for throwing in the towel so soon. Closing in for the kill, the guy roared at him to just drop dead. A split second before impact, Asai's eyes snapped open. He triggered his void magic and caught the punch like it was absolutely nothing. Totally floored, Young muttered that it was impossible. Staring at the kid blocking him, something suddenly clicked in his head. He thought they were using the exact same spell, but quickly realized Asai's version was on a whole other level. With a smirk, Asai thanked the guy for the free tutorial on body buffing magic. He bragged that seeing it up close made copying the spell super easy, then geared up for his own counterattack. One brutal punch sent Senyu launching through the air, completely too stunned to even try guarding. The lackey took it dead center, losing all his air before smashing through a solid wall like paper. Eating pavement, his brain was just error screening. Sprawled out, he kept wondering who the hell this kid really was. Asai watched him trash with zero sympathy. He spun around to check on Asahi, who practically choked on her thank yous. Striding toward the exit, he told everyone he was busting them out, and they needed to bounce. The banged-up kid started rising, shouting after him to see where he was headed, but he totally ghosted them. One hit was all it took to obliterate the heavy double doors, leaving his classmates staring at his back. Throwing out a quick excuse about having an errand, he took off solo. Cut to Roxy, totally blindsided by an emergency panic call from her crew. The voice on the line frantically broke the news. Yang got clapped, and the school's lab rats broke out. Lei was getting seriously pissed off, snapping at them to make it make sense. The guard babbled about a super strong intruder before the line went completely dead. Freaked out, she tried to guess what went down. Out of nowhere, a voice said hey. Asai was literally leaning in the saint's doorway, prompting her to demand who he was and what he wanted. The kid just smirked, saying his motive was actually super basic, giving off major killer vibes. He announced he was collecting payback for 20 years ago. Confused, Lei asked what ancient beef he was even talking about. Closing the distance, Asai mocked the clueless boss, asking if he really needed to dumb it down for her. He called out how the Pentagram Saints had been riding the hype train ever since that Triple S dungeon raid 20 years back. The woman shot him major death glares, looking totally fed up and impatient. Then he dropped the bomb about the massive cover-up from that day. Ruwaki totally scoffed, asking why some random high schooler was trying to lecture her on history. Asai pointed out the fake saints practically own the world now, but she clapped back that they earned it by wiping out bad guys. Giving him serious side-eye, the boss demanded his actual point before getting completely cut off. Going totally dark, Our boy declared that their whole superhero origin story was pure cap. Suddenly sweating, she asked him to repeat that, realizing his vibe had shifted to something terrifying. Flashing back to that nightmare, Kyoichiro straight up accused her of throwing her own squad under the bus. Picturing those sellouts soaking up the glory, he spat that they only did it to secure the bag and become legends. Haunted by Asahi's old smile, he finished by calling her out for continually stepping on the people who had her back. The teen boldly demands to know if he missed the mark, making her chuckle briefly. Rolling her eyes, she questions what kind of wild conspiracy theories the kid is trying to push. Kioske shoots back that her dirty secrets as a holy leader and executive are fully exposed. Icing her out, he drops the bombshell that she shoved an ally straight into the rift. Ruoxi literally stops dead in her tracks, totally mind blown. Glaring at the kid, she desperately tries to figure out how some random high schooler learned her darkest secret. Backing Lei into a corner, Asai taunts her for being so clueless about who she's facing. With absolute swagger, Misado finally drops his true name. Hearing her old teammate's name leaves the lady completely shook. Freaking out, Ruaki screams that it makes zero sense, but the guy just claps back. He confesses to burning every ounce of his level 100-time magic to make a comeback. Jaw dropped, she listens as he brings up how she used to label him a total freak because of those insane abilities. Totally spiraling, she denies reality and asks if Misado is actually the one standing right in front of her. The teen coldly claps back, claiming he's fully aware of her shady corporate cover-ups. Flexing on her, he threatens to leak everything and absolutely destroy her image. She totally snaps, shrieking at him to back the hell off. Stepping up, the dude smirks and points out that he's the one who should be saying that, radiating intense aura. Asai brings up the tragedy from 20 years back and how she crushed his buddy's hopes. Closing in with pure rage, he vows to never let her off the hook for it. Sweating under the pressure, Lei forces a mocking smirk. He snaps at him to stop acting tough, reminding him he isn't rocking Misado's original vessel anymore. Snatching a polearm off the back wall, she growls about him finally having the guts to show up. Screaming that he's dead meat, Ruoxi hoists the blade as sparks go wild around her. Dropping low, she fires off a massive lightning wave that completely obliterates the room. The insane blast basically wrecks the entire place, ripping massive fissures everywhere. Asai ducks out of the way effortlessly. Striking a combat pose, Lei cackles and demands his thoughts on her corporation's shiny new toy. Flashing a cocky grin, the boss brags about crafting it from hardcore dungeon loot that beats normal steel. Launching herself forward, she gets right in his face, promising to give him a first-hand taste of its crazy edge. The holy warrior spams strikes while Kioske casually sidesteps. He literally just chills for a sec, tracking the blade's path. Flashing a toxic smirk, she claims that running away is his only real talent, but panic starts creeping in as her vibes get totally thrown off. Watching the teen slip past every strike, Ruaki questions why nothing is connecting. Totally deadpan, the kid mutters that he finally gets what's going on here. He points out that Lei got super rusty playing corporate boss. Roasting her, he claims she's honestly worse than Aiko right now. Pure rage visibly spikes across her face. Completely triggered by the disrespect, she screams at him to shut his mouth, and the backstabber gears up for another massive lightning strike, hurling her crackling polearm straight into the kid's chest. Seeing the brutal impact, she feels super hyped about finally landing a killer blow, but a voice echoes from the shadows, sighing that it's just really pathetic. When Ruxi checks the weapon, the corpse literally melts into energy and vanishes behind her. She's completely mind-blown to find the hero chilling there, glowing with raging magic. Tripping out, she guesses his unique skill caused this. The boss realizes nobody has ever pulled off a stunt like that. Snatching her weapon back, she tries to figure out her next move. Igniting the blade with intense flames, the holy warrior drops into a sick battle stance, twirling the gear around. Lei plans to finish everything in one shot. Totally annoyed but cocky, she yells that she's going to permanently silence him. Her brutal swing launches a massive firewall that literally slices across the room. Rushing Misado, she closes in to end it all. A crazy energy shockwave explodes, blowing her magic away right as she aggressively lunges forward. Out of nowhere, Ruaki watches the kid literally pinch the deadly blade barehanded. Totally paralyzed, she whispers that this has to be a joke. Glaring down, Asai mocks that her absolute max effort is honestly just pathetic. Freaking out, she listens to him roast her for being way stronger 20 years back. The boss shakes off the shock, choosing to pop her ultimate backup plan and rushing in again. Ditching her weapon instantly, she sprints right past the dude, leaving him questioning her weird move. The hero instantly clicks with her crazy plan. Ruoxi snatches a glowing red stem off a desk and jams it straight toward her throat. Taking the shot triggers an insane energy flash that completely blinds the guy, forcing him to throw his arms up defensively. The guy glares at her, totally losing his patience, and drops, "Okay, you've crossed the line." Shadowy fog wraps around her shaking body as her dark hair instantly bleaches bone white and her arms pitch black, rocking scaly gray skin and wild eyes. She mocks him, asking who the real freak is. Feeling invincible, Ruoxi bursts out laughing, flexing that nobody can touch her anymore. Deadpan, our hero asks if she really thought popping some half-baked prototype would score her an easy win. The villainess sighs, warning him to stop sleeping on her, demanding if he even knows the insane cash dropped on that serum. She brags about mining ultra-rare loot from the darkest dungeons and grinding for years to perfect it. Reflecting, she confesses that after seeing his crazy, inhuman brawl 20 years back, she's been obsessed with stealing that exact strength. Grinning like crazy, she boasts she finally scored something way stronger than Misado, mockingly thanking him. Totally grossed out, he just calls the whole thing tragic. Her smug smirk drops instantly, staring at him like he just spoke another language. Asahi presses on, roasting her for claiming she's stronger, while literally flexing about needing cheap meds to win. Pissed off, she snarls, demanding to know what he just muttered. The guy just smirks, sarcastically saying sorry for cutting her whole villain speech short, stepping right up. Squaring up, Kyo gets totally engulfed in this sick, blazing magic aura and yells, "Let's wrap this up." Roxy instantly drops into a combat stance too, challenging him to end it all with one ultimate strike to prove who's boss. With a massive boom, she launches forward. Closing the gap in a flash, she screams at him to brace himself. Before throwing a killer punch, our dude effortlessly sidesteps, letting her crash straight into a wall and totally obliterate it. With rubble crashing down and the villain cloaked in shadowy smoke, they lock eyes, mentally measuring each other. Ru whips around, bragging that the strike was her ultimate life's work and asking how he liked it. Catching him off guard, she blitzes him again instantly. A lethal hit connects dead center. The insane impact launches the guy backward, blasting debris everywhere as the whole area just crumbles into dust. The fighter smirks, totally convinced she just caught a massive win. Then, blinding agony hits her. Glancing down, she spots a massive ice shard pinned right through her foot. While she drops down groaning, the icicle literally poofs away. From across the room, that familiar voice admits he set the trap the second she charged. Recognizing his voice, Ruoxi totally freaks out, asking how he survived that. Dripping with heavy mana, Asai casually tells her to thank her goons for the free lesson. Sprawled in the dirt and panicking, she hears him admit her little potion is cool, but it basically just blows hot air. Triggered by the roast, the villainess screams, furious that he would trash her life's work like that. Save the garbage excuses, he snaps back. Music. Beyond pissed, the guy glares, scaring her as he snarls that ruining lives and calling it progress is pure trash. Dropping his voice, Kyoichiro admits it makes him genuinely sick. The crazy boss lady twitches her hand, channeling way more of that pitch-black energy. Screeching at him to shut his mouth, she totally lunges for his throat. But honestly, her killing blow gets blocked mid-air with a bored sigh. Pulling off an impossibly smooth counter, the dude absolutely decks her in the gut with zero hesitation. That focused hook totally knocks her breath away. Ruxi panics, wondering why her buffs glitched out. She hits the floor while our hero just walks away. Fading to black, her final thought hits her. This is Kyoichiro's true, legendary strength. Strolling past the wrecked concrete, he mutters to himself that her whole gimmick was fake strength anyway. Finally outside, massive clouds of smoke are billowing from a random floor. Somebody shouts Kioske's name, totally catching his eye. He spots Asahi, relieved she made it out in one piece. Nodding, the girl jokes that her buddy looks pretty decent himself. The massive smoke signal grabs everyone's focus, with news crews buzzing that the leaked raid on Lei's secret base was totally legit. The teens tune in, and Karine wonders out loud if Asai pulled this off, but their friend just laughs it away. Checking out the live broadcast, our guy realizes Lei's messed up crimes are finally getting leaked, meaning those victims are officially safe. While he's zoning out, thinking about how that villain's entire empire just crashed and burnt, his bestie totally jump scares him, snapping him back to reality by calling his name. His partner confessed she was completely clueless about the drama, but swore she'd be dead without him. Then, looking right at him, she awkwardly mumbled on. Mind blown, he actually hears her say thanks. Instantly chilling out, Kioske realized he totally forgot that feeling, flashing Asahi a genuine grin. It finally clicked for him. Saving people was literally his entire vibe back in the day. Cut to his apartment later that night. The news anchor was blasting a massive expose about twisted human testing uncovered at Ruaki's hidden lab. The massive leak dropped right after some mystery vigilante totally trashed the Saints' headquarters. The anchor kept talking as wild explosion footage flashed on screen. Slipping out of his uniform, Asai tuned into the broadcast. Lei's brain was totally scrambled, and her attacker was still roaming free. How would the rest of the Pentagram squad react? Suddenly, the anchor gasped. Major breaking news had just dropped. She revealed that Saint Nathaniel, a major Pentagram player, was dropping a massive public statement. Hearing that cursed name, our boy glared at the broadcast like an absolute predator locking onto his next meal. The blonde dude swore he had his crew's back and needed to share some seriously urgent updates. While the kid watched with pure venomous rage, Nathaniel claimed the squad was totally heartbroken over Lei's whole situation. The Saint kept yapping, playing guilty for not catching on and stopping her crazy stunts way sooner. Asai cringed at the dark irony. These fakes were seriously about to play totally dumb all over again. Gripping his remote tight enough to snap it, he realized they were pulling the exact same garbage from 20 years back. Flashing back to those snakes, it hit him this crew was exactly the same, spitting out lies without even blinking. Anything to keep their shiny superhero image intact, Kyo thought. Absolutely sick and tired of their endless faking. To those elites, guys like him weren't even worthy sacrifices. They were literally just annoying bugs to crush. Staring at Kaval running his mouth, the dude's mind raced. Judging by the guy's shady past, there was a massive chance he was the mastermind who originally backstabbed Misado. He remembered how his old teammate was super sneaky, hyper careful, and literally impossible to track down. Snatching his phone, Kyoichiro started plotting his next move, scrolling screens while keeping one eye on the broadcast. Cut to a quiet church where some chick is praying on her knees as a little kid calls out. The kid confirmed the rumors. Lady Claudia sighed, finally getting it, and begged the man upstairs to guide them toward a brighter tomorrow. Meanwhile, someone hollered for Ingolf while he was just chilling at the local gym, warning him the big council chat was starting up. Dropping his weights, the beefy dude promised he'd log on as soon as possible. The messenger awkwardly apologized for ruining his workout, while Ingolf angrily ground his teeth. The massive dude furiously swore at Lei under his breath, totally baffled by her insane logic. Flash over to Nathaniel in a high-tech room. He clapped his hands, demanding focus from the other Pentagram Saints on the giant video call. Kicking things off officially, he announced the council was in session, and the whole squad gave serious nods. Pacing around with his computer, Nathaniel claimed the messy situation was wrapped up. Meanwhile, Claudia kept her hands glued in prayer, nodding along, completely trashing her old teammate for being sloppy enough to let an attacker leak her illegal science projects. Ingolf snapped, demanding to know what the heck that crazy chick had been plotting to totally wreck their squad's flawless rep. Chilling back in his fancy chair, Kaval fully backed up that angry vibe. Playing it smart, the guy stressed that Ruaki was flying solo and ran those twisted tests completely alone. He swore the rest of the crew was clueless. Listening in, Hideki scoffed, classic move from his overly calculated buddy. Long story short, they were throwing her under the bus. Even if others were clueless, Hideki knew Nathaniel was well aware of Lei's dirty laundry. Sweating bullets, the older dude realized how incredibly messed up tossing her away so easily really was. Grabbing an envelope next to his laptop, Director Hideki told himself he literally had to follow the guy's orders. When a teammate mentioned they were dying to know who actually pulled off the attack, Iari chimed in, claiming he had the tea. He flashed an envelope, revealing it popped up sealed at the school, mailed by the exact dude who exposed Ruaki. The Saints were totally shook, and Kaval immediately ordered him to read the juicy contents out loud. Nodding, the older guy ripped the paper open and started reading aloud. I stepped right out of that portal back into the present, and I'm coming to wreck every single one of you. See you soon. Hideki kept reading, his voice literally shaking. Dropping Misado Kyo's name at the very end totally paralyzed the crew, hanging onto every word. Freaking out a bit, Claudia asked if some random troll was just stealing his identity. Nathaniel shut that down fast. He pointed out the portal was a total secret, meaning the letter was 100% from their old pal. The chick guessed he maybe abused some time magic, but Ingolf clapped back, insisting they had absolutely zero reason to sweat. Super irritated, St. Vitz snapped that if Misado was actually back, they'd literally just have to crush him all over again. Kaval agreed, sensing zero rush. Smirking, the blonde dude told everyone to just chill and watch whatever crazy move Kyoichiro tried next. Back in Engel's office, the guy pushes away from his desk, staring out the massive window while quietly muttering his old partner's name. Jaw locked in pure rage, He swears Misado is the one dude who is never getting off the hook. Cut back to Kioske chilling at his place. The director confirms over the phone that the job is done. Kicking back, our guy nods, figuring Nathaniel is playing it super safe and won't strike firsthand, which honestly works out perfectly. Once those guys finally clock that he has returned, they are going to panic. He decides to hunt down the easy targets first, giving Hideki the green light to roll out. Snagging a document off the desk, he listens to the old guy press him for details on the strategy. With a smirk, he brushes it off as light work. Kyoichiro then orders the paperwork prepped for a transfer straight into Ingolf's academy. Hideki sounds totally caught off guard, asking if that is their next hit. Asai hits him with a yes, plotting to exploit the short-term exchange setup. The older guy drops a heavy warning. Golf is not sloppy like him or Lei. The dude's record is completely spotless without a single shady rumor. Completely unfazed, our main guy says he still needs to look the dude dead in the eyes. Hanging up, he dumps all the boring admin stuff onto the director's plate. Stepping out onto the balcony, Kioske mutters that a clean reputation does not erase the fact that this ex-partner backstabbed him 20 years back. Fast forward to the next morning with a jet ripping through the clouds. From a classroom window, Asahi tracks the flight path. The girl flashes a happy, flushed smile. Down on the tarmac, the plane touches down, and a figure steps out radiating serious main character energy. Enter our boy, freshly touched down on German soil. Vibing with the scenery, he pulls out his phone, double-checking the confirmed link between this local school and Ingolf. Time to get to work. He is totally planning to use this German institute as a backdoor to reach his target. Figuring he should hit the campus first, he starts navigating the city streets until a girl's annoyed voice cuts through the noise, yelling at some creeps. Peeking around to see what is up, he quickly reads the room. She is locked in a heated argument with two trashed guys. He immediately clocks that she is Japanese too, completely out of place with the local language. Like absolute magic, he flexes his void attribute to run a real-time mental translation of their garbage talk. Tuning out the background noise, Kioske dials into their messy conversation. One loser is pushing her to hang out, while his buddy chimes in, promising they will show her a good time. Snapping back, she calls them relentless and flat-out refuses to entertain some low-level punks. Huge blow to their fragile egos. One of the jerks grabs at her, threatening to teach her some manners. She just shoots an absolute death glare at his hand. Before things get ugly, our hero slides in, tossing out a few harsh curses and telling them to back the heck off. The dude on the left demands to know who this random kid thinks he is. Kyoichiro does not flinch, just drops another curse and repeats the warning. Completely triggered, both guys square up against the student, sparking up their fire and earth magic. Yelling at him to know his place, they rush in for a combo strike. The first brawler winds up for a heavy punch, but out of nowhere, a massive shock wave of wind blasts them straight off their feet. Covering her face from the gale, the girl totally misses seeing the two thugs get launched backward like ragdolls. Whipping her head around, she is absolutely stunned to find them completely unconscious from one hit. Gasping in shock, she locks eyes back on her savior. While she is trying to process who this powerhouse is, he just stands there chilling. The trashed guys suddenly wake up and scramble away, crying apologies. Walking over, she pours out her thanks, but he just shrugs it off like it was literally nothing. Noticing the growing audience of bystanders, he quickly hints that they should probably bail. She nods right away, ignoring the nosy onlookers. Kioske dips from the drama, with the girl trailing right behind. Flashing a soft smile, it hits her that the only other time she was rescued like this was when she met her special someone. A few blocks later, they hit a way more chill street and keep strolling. She gently taps for his attention and drops another huge thank you, admitting things could have gotten super dark without him. Asai tells her again not to sweat it, internally noting that she actually seems like a really sweet girl. Catching a better look at her face, Kioske gets super intense deja vu. She points out his uniform gives him away as a Japanese student, and he confirms. He drops the details, explaining he literally just touched down for a foreign exchange gig and is heading to the Battle Academy. Her face lights up, and she instantly volunteers to play tour guide to repay the massive favor. He admits he would totally be down for that. While crossing a bridge together, Asai casually asks if she is backpacking the globe, and she says yes. Playing it cool, she brushes it off by saying she has her own stuff going on. He catches himself guessing her age, figuring a girl backpacking across the globe totally solo is pretty unusual. Pushing past his nerves, he asks if solo trips aren't super sketchy. She just winks, teasing that she's got a few magic tricks up her sleeve, despite her cute looks. That instantly sparks Ki's memory of how she totally wrecked those street punks earlier. Pivoting back to school stuff, she asks if he's legit enrolled there. Kioske gets a bit defensive, shooting back, "Yeah, so what?" She clarifies that the academy is insanely competitive, so most kids there are totally obsessed with rankings. She breaks down the crazy pecking order, explaining how everything runs on points and only top-tier students get the real perks. It totally clicks for him. This place is way more cutthroat than high schools back in Japan. Suddenly, Io's warning echoes in his head. Ingolf exclusively coaches the absolute elite. If he wants any face time with the guy, he's gotta grind his way to the top. Asai gets totally hyped, realizing this is exactly the kind of hardcore challenge he lives for. Out of nowhere, she points ahead and announces they made it. Waving at this massive castle, surrounded by campus buildings, she introduces the Lansing Training Academy. Kioske just takes it all in. He tells her he's good to solo the rest of the way, and she nods. Catching her slip-up, she finally drops her name, Shirato Sayuki. Flashing a grin, Asai throws his own name out there and offers a quick handshake to make it official. Her bubbly vibe instantly vanishes and she totally freezes. She mutters his name under her breath, weirding him out enough to ask what's up, but Sayuki quickly plays it off, swearing it's no big deal and that he just shares a name with an old friend. Tossing him a quick good luck, she bounces, leaving our guy to wave her off. Something about her gives him major déjà vu, but he just can't pinpoint why she's living rent-free in his head right now. Shaking it off, he faces the giant fortress and decides it's finally time to crash the party. Cruising through the campus streets, he suddenly gets shouted at right as a huge shadow blocks out his light. Perched on a wall, this ginger kid demands to know if he's the Japanese transfer. Asai immediately roasts him for looking like a street punk, setting the guy off completely. Dropping down to ground level, the dude smirks and says, they almost never see Japanese transfers. So, he's betting our guy is carrying some heavy-duty skills. Getting right up in his face, he tells him not to get a big head about it, claiming this little showdown is just a freshman hazing ritual. Kioske lets out a massive groan, internally screaming that he's been here 5 minutes and already pulled aggro from a weirdo. Flashing back to Shirato's warning about the insane point system, he realizes she was totally spot on. This punk definitely wants to test his stats in a street fight. Not backing down, Kioske dumps his bag, completely ready to brawl. Backing up to give them space, the hothead smirks, acting glad the new kid actually has some spine. Firing up some earth magic, the ginger summons a ring of floating rocks, screaming, "Eat dirt," as he unleashes the attack. The boulders accelerate like crazy, zeroing right in on our guy's face. With a ridiculously lazy hand wave, Asai swats the attack away like flies, making the boulders crash aside while the ginger's jaw absolutely drops. Kioske then flexes his own earth skills, casually grading the kid's attack by admitting the quantity wasn't bad, but the damage output was absolute trash. Spawning a genuinely massive asteroid in his palm, he schools the kid. Here's a free lesson in real earth magic. The giant rock launches with a massive sonic boom, barely shaving the side of the punk's head. Blown right onto his backside, the ginger cowers from the dust storm as the projectile absolutely deletes the wall behind him. If you're gonna hit this hard. Asai drops the mic, sweating bullets. The bully stares at the cratered brickwork, and then back to Asai, realizing he just picked a fight with an absolute raid boss. Kioske just facepalms at the dramatic kid. Meanwhile, a few blocks over, someone's creeping on a phone call. Spot on, Lady Claudia. Clutching Kioske's dossier, the spy verifies that the target has been successfully engaged. Stepping out of the shadows, Sayuki hangs up, declaring she's staying posted up in Germany to keep tabs on his every move. Fast forward a bit, Asai hits up the admin office at the German Academy to finally snag his slick new student badge. Stepping outside, he's hyped that the boring paperwork is history, meaning he's officially cleared to raid the local dungeons. Checking out the card's built-in translator, he spots instantly that the design is way flashier than his basic Japanese version. Spotting his point balance, his mind flashes right back to that brutal ranking system Shiro was spilling the tea about. Figuring out the card basically tracks his entire dungeon crawling stats. Pocketing the tech, he realizes his schedule is totally clear, making it the perfect time for a solo dungeon run. But as he strolls away from the admin building, a pair of eyes is already locked onto him from a distance. That redhead kid just quietly watched him walk away. Meanwhile, Kioske bolted straight to a local dungeon entrance, completely skipping the sightseeing. Staring into the glowing gateway, he knew the drill. Grabbing the #1 spot in class was his only ticket to reaching Ingolf. He stepped through the rift, hyped to farm a massive ton of points inside this top-tier labyrinth. Blinking at the wrecked ancient stones around him, the dude quickly scoped out his new surroundings. Asai smirked, curious about the local mobs, right before a squad of skeletons pulled up. These weren't your average Japanese zombies. They were seriously beefed up undead, but he wasn't sweating it. Flexing his past life knowledge from his Misado days, he instantly sparked up his fire spells. One bony dude flared up with wild magical energy, totally ready to throw hands. The creep swung a massive battle axe right at his head, but Kioske sidestepped like it was nothing. Remembering that these zombies hated flames and sheer muscle, he dialed up the heat, rocking fists completely covered in blazing infernos. Our guy delivered an absolutely devastating right hook. The monster literally shattered into 2 pieces and hit the dirt. The rest of the bony squad just froze in absolute shock. Cocky as ever, Asai taunted them to bring it on. Fast forward through the bone-crushing brawl, he figured this messy corridor definitely led straight to the main boss. Pushing into the massive final arena, the team kept his guard completely up, staring down a literal Grim Reaper dripping with toxic purple energy. He cleared his throat, pretty sure he just found the final challenge. The creature's insane glowing vibe hit him like a truck, proving just how ridiculously overpowered it really was. Sparking flames in both palms, he figured he would exploit the classic zombie glitch and chucked a massive blazing orb right at the phantom. The spook just raised its staff to tank the hit. Their colliding energies sparked a massive shockwave, forcing Kioske to block the flying sparks. Peeking through the smoke, he saw the big bad had completely erased his attack, proving this guy was no joke. Before the team could even follow up, the phantom started charging a nasty counterattack. A beam of toxic violet sludge blasted his way, forcing him to totally dive out of the danger zone in pure shock. He quickly noticed the slime literally melted through solid rock. So this was the crazy scaling of a top-tier raid. Yet, a cocky grin still crept across his face. Seeing the boss spam more magic, he hatched a totally unhinged plan to flip the script. Getting entirely in the zone, he funneled hurricane magic into his sneakers and gracefully weaved through an absolute barrage of hexes. He instantly closed the gap, catching the floating menace completely off guard as the intense battle beat dropped. Ripping off the monster's own toxic drip, the teen smirked. "Let us see if you can tank your own medicine, buddy." With one smooth swipe, he slapped the melting goo right onto the phantom, making it shriek in pure agony before its face literally dissolved away. Asai stuck the landing flawlessly, while the terrifying creature completely stopped moving. Checking his knuckles as he turned to bail, he watched the supposedly invincible boss just crumble into literal ash and smoke. He realized stealing a max-tier skill wasn't completely flawless, which was why his own body had to tank a bit of the nasty blowback. The verdict? He absolutely needed to grind out his void stats like crazy before the next huge fight. Out of nowhere, his vibe shifted. Staring into the empty room, he locked in and yelled, "I know you are lurking. Come out already," he demanded bluntly. A hidden kid chuckled, stepping out with a smirk. "Damn, I really thought I was invisible." The ginger dude admitted he was totally spectating the whole brawl, hoping it wasn't a massive buzzkill. Yawning, Kioske asked if this guy really wanted round 2, assuming he missed the brutal memo last time. But looking closer, the ginger's energy felt completely off. He instantly knew the kid was keeping some major secrets as he walked up, claiming he just wanted to hash things out. Looking dead serious, the ginger suddenly reached deep into his jacket for something. That sketchy move totally put Kioske on super high alert. Clenching his fists, he figured the kid was actually packing heat, wondering if this was about to turn into another insane showdown, like with Lei. But plot twist, the guy literally drops to his knees, slamming his forehead on the dirt, begging to be his student. Kioske was just completely frozen, unable to speak. Thinking the guy had entirely lost his mind, he peeked at the random object in his hands and realized it was just a tiny cup. The dude glanced up, rambling about how he read that gifting a sake cup was some ultimate Japanese respect move. While Kioske processed the cringe, the guy frantically promised to be his personal helper if he just taught him some hardcore magic tricks. Getting super real, the kid admitted that watching him demolish that boss was utterly mind-blowing, and he felt like a total clown for trying to fight him earlier. Groaning internally, our guy realized his peaceful life had just taken a massively annoying detour. But then, a tiny detail caught his eye. He stepped up and casually grabbed the bowing kid right by the shoulder. Right as the dude hopefully asked if the mentorship was officially happening, things suddenly took a wild turn while the soundtrack bumped up. A massive blast rips through the dirt, but a quick sigh yanks them out of the danger zone right as a giant skeletal dragon rises from the rubble, making the redhead stumble back in pure shock. Kioske just steps up and smirks, noting that the Grim Reaper definitely was not the final boss after all. The undead beast stares him down, its suffocating energy making the air heavy, while Kioske just chills and says the real fight is finally kicking off. Both guys are totally freaked out, staring up at this massive, bone-chilling dragon covered in a glowing purple mist. The red-haired kid stutters that he actually knows this thing from his textbooks. It is a legendary undead beast that erased a whole town back in the day. The history books claim that Ingolf barely scraped by to defeat it. He is totally losing it over why it is even here. But our main guy stays cool, saying it all makes sense now. Mind blown, the redhead asks if he seriously wants to box that nightmare. But Asai just tells him to chill out before dropping a massive lore bomb. Ingolf was definitely not the guy who smoked this bone dragon for the Pentagram Knights. Giving Misado the credit would have been a bad look, so those cowards totally rewrote history to save face. Knowing the real truth, our hero decides it is time to put this ugly beast back in the grave. Looking dead serious, he calls out that it is go time, but the monster acts first by smashing its huge claw into the dirt. Kyo drops into a fighting stance, locking his eyes dead onto the giant target. He launches himself so hard that a huge gust of wind kicks up, instantly realizing this thing hits way harder than it did 20 years ago. But honestly, he does not care. He weaves through the strikes like nothing and sprints right at its skull, loading up a massive punch. His fist lights up in roaring flames, packing an insane amount of raw power. The hit is absolutely brutal. The dragon's skull completely caves in and explodes into a million pieces flying everywhere. The redhead loses his mind, cheering for his mentor, but the hype dies fast when the beast magically starts putting itself back together. These undead dragons have crazy high health. If you do not wipe them from existence, they just bounce right back. Since brute force is not cutting it, Kioske realizes he has to switch up his whole game plan. Totally lost, his new student just stares at him, wondering how anyone could stay this chill against a literal raid boss. Not wasting another second, the massive skeletal nightmare throws its whole body right at them. The kid barely avoids getting swatted into next week by its massive tail. That wicked bone whip instantly snaps toward Asai, crashing into the dirt. But our guy just sidesteps it flawlessly. He keeps dancing around the heavy hits, buying time until the perfect strategy clicks in his brain. That is the whole trick to void magic. You literally weaponize your imagination. The sharper the mental picture, the crazier the damage. Right as he gears up to strike, the beast rushes in and blasts a deadly purple laser straight at his face. Panicking, his student sprints over thinking it is game over, but his jaw drops when the smoke clears. Asai is casually holding the monster's bottom jaw open like it is absolutely nothing. With pure magic shielding his hand, those razor-sharp teeth cannot even leave a scratch. It is officially over for the dragon. Wrapping the entire beast in a blinding blue aura, he drops his ultimate move, flash freezing the nightmare into a giant ice cube. Now totally frozen, it is completely harmless. The redhead breathes a massive sigh of relief, officially fanboying over his insanely overpowered mentor. Fast forward a bit, they are strolling outside, while the kid is practically bowing to him with crazy respect. Asai just laughs and asks what is up with the weird vibe. Brushing off the fanboy stuff, he checks his ID and wonders aloud how dungeon scores even work, asking Mateo how points actually boost your rank. Mateo breaks it down. Every 10,000 points bumps you up a tier, and you need 30,000 to hit the elite special class. Bummer is, dungeon payouts are totally capped. Soloing a hidden boss gave him exactly 0 bonus experience. Since he only bagged 500 points last run, he would have to grind through 600 whole dungeons just to qualify. Basically, grinding to the elite tier is going to take forever and a day. Knowing his buddy is dying to rank up fast, Mateo drops a major hint about a cheat code to score massive points. Totally hyped, our guy immediately leans in, begging his friend to spill the details. The redhead reveals that this massive tournament called the Sublime Celestial Festival drops in exactly 1 month. It is an insane campus brawl with crazy challenges, and the champion walks away with a massive 20,000 points. Hearing those numbers, Kioske instantly vows to crush the competition and bridge the gap with Ingolf overnight. Totally pumped up, he clenches his fist and vows right then and there that he is absolutely taking the crown at this epic festival. 4 weeks fly by, and boom, the Sublime Celestial Festival is finally here. Mateo flashes his mentor a hyped up grin, totally pumped that it is go time. Kioske, on the flip side, is locked in. Scoring enough points means snagging a spot in the elite class, bringing him right to the jerk who backstabbed him 20 years back. The rules for the challengers? Super straightforward. Snatch the shiny rock at the tower's peak. How you pull it off is completely up to you. Throw hands or sprint to the roof, totally your call. You just gotta flex all the power you have been grinding for. The school's crazy guidelines do not sweat Kioske one bit. He is ready for whatever. Meanwhile, the ginger is practically buzzing, swearing they are going to crush it and take the win. You can only sign up as a duo for this bash. Lucky for our guy, he has already locked down the ultimate sidekick. Out of nowhere, some dude strolls up with a mock laugh. Enter Shirato, dropping by to see our main guy show off. Totally starstruck, Mateo leans in to ask if the babe is Asai's girl, earning himself a swift smack upside the head. But their little hangout gets cut short. The whole crowd is suddenly staring at the Jumbotron. Completely shook, a bunch of massive VIPs flash on screen. Ingolf is up there, dropping everyone's jaws, especially Kioske's. The school officials instantly hype the guy up, acting super honored that he actually showed up. The bearded legend shoots back that he is just here to see if these teenage magic users are actually the real deal. Moments later, the loudspeakers order every student to hit the tower. Face deadpan, Kioske strides in with his trusty bro, scanning the crazy architecture inside. The boys are geared up to throw down. Boom! A massive blast shakes the crowd, and a monstrous, red-eyed wolf drops right into the middle of the pack. They did warn everyone that some psycho monsters would crash the party. Mateo turns to ask his boss for the game plan, only to find the dude straight up ghosted. Faster than a lightning strike, the teen is already absolutely wrecking the beast. He sticks the landing flawlessly, leaving the crowd speechless. Kioske looks back, teasing his bro for lagging behind. Totally hyped, the ginger yells back that he is coming. The Jumbotron shows our guy sprinting with laser focus. Ingolf clocks the kid's Japanese roots and instantly gets hooked. Meanwhile, the guys in the stands are tripping out that he one-shotted that massive wolf. Down in the arena, Mateo is also flexing his combat chops. He is bouncing off the walls with energy even after dropping a rival. Seeing that, Asai tells him to keep that same energy flowing. They gotta keep pushing forward, but as they scale the endless steps, it is pretty obvious who has the bigger gas tank. Out of nowhere, Kyoske spots something sketchy. He screams for his buddy to hold up, just as a blast totally wipes out the stairs beside them. Some shady giggling echoes from above. A pair of rival kids just blew up their route. They actually trash-talk Mateo, joking that they cannot hear his whining from so high up. The dirty players bolt, ditching our boys in the dust. Freaking out, the ginger asks his bro how they are supposed to bounce back. Keeping his cool, Kioske just shrugs. Easy. We just fly up to the next platform. Mateo looks at him like he just grew a second head. Before he can even process it, Kioske snatches his arm and yeets them toward the ledge. Up top, those two frauds are already closing in on the boss room's massive gate. The blonde kid brags about how ridiculously easy that was, and they gloat about never losing to some random Japanese dude. But a heavy sigh cuts them off, with a voice saying that is pure cap. He casually drops that their little roadblock barely even slowed him down. Panting but still talking trash, Mateo swears he would never take a loss from absolute clowns. The shady magic users instantly start powering up. Kioske just calls them sluggish and blasts right through the enemies like a literal missile. Those two do not even have a second to process the blur. Next thing you know, they hit the floor out cold. Mind blown, Mateo stares at his buddy, realizing his eyes literally could not track that speed. With the haters out of the way, our boys kick the doors open. Inside, a glowing rock is just waiting for them. Hyped out of his mind, the ginger cheers that they bagged first place. But Asai quickly clocks that the fight is far from done. A bunch of magic glyphs spark up around the gym, and fully armored knights literally crawl out of the floor. Up in the booths, a staff member jumps up in a panic, screaming that those goons definitely were not in the script. Sporting a sinister grin, Ingolf totally planned this trap. He's dying to see if these guys can actually survive the gauntlet. Mateo freezes as creepy armored figures literally start creeping up right out of the ground. Kyo instantly clocks that these things aren't human. Someone crazy powerful is definitely puppeteering this entire squad with one massive spell. Our guy bets his life it's Ingolf's doing. Off in the observation room, another proctor asks the dude if he's actually flexing this hard. The bearded teacher just shrugs it off, admitting that letting them breeze through the exam would be a total snooze fest. In his book, if these teens want to be top-tier spellcasters, they gotta prove they can handle some serious heat. Honestly though, the guy is fully aware that an average rookie would get absolutely crushed by this mob. Smirking like a villain, he's super hyped to watch them scramble. Meanwhile, down in the pit, Mateo is straight up losing his mind. Kyo gets that grabbing the prize means wiping out these mobs first. Plus, there's a ton of them, and they look insanely buff. Still, our boy accepts that taking them down is the only way to clutch the win. Despite sweating bullets and trembling, Mateo realizes they are totally trapped. He mans up, resolving to cover his bro's blind spots as best as he can. But honestly, before Mateo can even get a word out, Kyo completely blitzes into action, smoothly sidestepping a lethal slash. When another goon charges with a drawn blade, the teen pops an aura buff and catches the steel barehanded. Right then, his free fist ignites with some seriously intense, blazing aura. He drops a massive punch that launches the armored freak across the room. The crowd watching the stream is absolutely losing their minds. Our guy just keeps styling on them, dropping bodies left and right without drawing a weapon, wrecking 3 dudes simultaneously, and slamming them into the brickwork. The shockwave from the hit literally shakes the entire arena. Peeking from behind cover, Mateo is totally hyping up his boss's insane power level. Ingolf is totally stunned too, catching on that Kyo actually plans to solo the entire mob. Banging a fist on his desk, he dials up the difficulty. Out of nowhere, the armored freaks clone themselves, spawning endless waves straight out of the dirt. Super annoyed, Kyo questions what the heck the Academy is even trying to prove with this garbage. Shirato is sweating while glued to the screen, secretly rooting for the kid to pull through. He's incredibly hyped to see Asai's counterplay. Back in the death trap, a massive battle axe barely shaves the teen's head. There's gotta be around 30 goons now, but honestly, he survived way worse trauma. 2 attackers suddenly chuck their heavy weapons at him, but he casually pops a dirt barricade to tank the hit. Simultaneously, a third brawler rushes his blind spot. Spotting the flank, the teen charges up a glowing green blast in his offhand, blasting the whole squad into oblivion. Kyo quickly figures out that picking them off individually is a total waste of time. He needs to drop a massive nuke and clear the room instantly. The catch? Getting swarmed like this means 0 breathing room to actually cast heavy hitters. Weaving through a brutal lunging strike, he drops one palm to the floor and starts vaulting wildly to dodge the onslaught. His biggest brain play is spamming a familiar technique so he doesn't waste precious seconds constructing it. Asai absolutely despises the jerk who originally spammed this move, but beggars can't be choosers. Kyo's eyes flare up as he triggers his anti-gravity skill. Debris all over the combat zone starts levitating like they're in outer space. Ingolf literally jumps out of his seat, completely blown away. Right then, Kyo throws his arms wide open, radiating a massive wave of toxic green aura. He detonates the skill, catching the entire mob in the crossfire. By mixing gale and rock elements, he creates a brutal storm that clears the whole stage. The resulting blast is so insanely overpowered that a blinding flash erupts right through the academy walls. When the dust settles, nothing is left but shredded metal, leaving the objective crystal sitting perfectly at our guy's feet. Snatching the prize, the teen smirks and calls game. Mateo totally loses his mind, screaming that his boss actually clutched the win while bouncing off the walls. The whole student audience watching instantly erupts into massive cheers. Shirato's jaw drops, recognizing that legendary combo move, admitting the kid is an absolute monster for pulling it off flawlessly. Ingolf just bursts into manic laughter, still entirely stunned. Kyo perfectly executed a technique that took Iwoko 20 whole years to invent. For a rookie, this kid is just built entirely different. Ingolf makes up his mind right there. If this prodigy hits the elite tier, he's taking him on as a personal pupil. Fast forward to the promo announcements for the top rank. The crowd goes wild as our boy steps out under the spotlight. The peanut gallery is in total shock, considering the dude literally transferred here just 1 single month ago. Hearing those flexed out whispers from the crowd, Mateo practically bursts with pride for his bro. The armband ceremony is officially kicking off on stage, featuring a mystery VIP. Kioske instantly gets a bad vibe, wondering who the heck is showing up. Music. Sure enough, Ingolf steps into the spotlight. The guy glares coldly at the crowd, taking an envelope right from the host's hands. It blows Asai's mind that a big shot like Ingolf actually showed up here, but he is mainly dying to know why. Flashing a smirk. Music. Ingolf mentions how much of a kick he got out of Kioske at the festival. Keeping a straight face, the teen calls it a huge honor and grabs the document. But then, the man leans in close and whispers a shady invite to his private mansion for that very evening. Mateo narrows his eyes, catching the sketchy little secret exchange happening with his buddy. A second later, Ingolf is waving at the crowd, dropping a quick farewell before dipping out of sight. This leaves Kioske totally stressed over what the guy actually wants. Soon enough, a starry night rolls in. Pulling up to the massive property, a uniformed guard waves Asai right through, claiming he was expected. Kioske's heart is pounding. He keeps obsessing over whether his massive secret is already blown that he is secretly Misado Kioichiro. He really regrets not having a backup plan. If Ingolf already knows the truth, things are about to get incredibly messy. Down the hall, he spots a giant door, where a second guard immediately swings it wide open for him. Tensing up, Kioske fully prepares to throw hands right then and there. Instead, he steps into a massive, ridiculous feast. Ingolf casually slices into some steak, gesturing for the teen to grab a chair so they can chat over food. That just cranks up the teen's paranoia as his brain spirals through a million terrible scenarios. Plates cleared, Ingolf kicks things off by hyping up the kid's crazy stunts at the festival, especially that insane top-floor fight. Because of that, he had a burning question. His face goes completely deadpan as he demands to know Kioske's real secret. Asai low-key panics. He starts sweating bullets, desperately trying to figure out how much this guy actually uncovered. Gripping his hand tight, he realizes something does not add up. If his real identity was blown, Ingolf would have attacked him already. The man brings up Iwako's ultimate fusion magic, a technique that took forever to create, asking how on earth a teenager pulled it off. Breathing a massive sigh of relief, Kioske manages a tiny smirk, dropping the lie that Iwako personally mentored him back in Japan. Taking a calm sip of his tea, the host asks if that is how he scored such a broken ability. Asai plays along, swearing that his master taught him absolutely everything he knows. Grinning, Ingolf admits that totally tracks with Iwako's style, praising the kid for nailing such a complex move. But then comes the heavy warning. Do not abuse that magic, or you will end up exactly like Misado Kioichiro, the villain who almost shattered society. Kioske completely freezes up at that name. Pushing his chair back, Ingolf casually assumes the kid knows all about the massive tragedy from 20 years back. The way he tells it, Misado went totally insane from too much strength, scheming to unleash dungeon monsters onto the surface. Apparently, he wanted to wipe out absolutely everyone, even his best friends. Hearing this total garbage makes Kioske stare in pure disbelief. The dude keeps rambling, claiming Kioichiro was obsessed with being the solo hero, music, and pulled the trigger on his twisted endgame. Thank goodness the good guys stepped up and crushed him before it was too late. Kioske is literally shaking with rage at these nasty lies, somehow keeping his mouth shut. Deep down, he promises to make this jerk pay dearly. Ingolf looks dead at the teen, framing this entire story as a friendly heads-up to keep his ego in check. Keeping his tone rock solid, Asai fires back that raw strength is the only way to crush the bad guys, vowing to outgrow everyone. That intense vibe completely shifts Ingolf's mood, definitely catching the fierce spark radiating off the kid. He admits Kioske is turning out to be super fascinating just like at the festival, and that kind of fire actually deserves a prize. Stepping up close, the man offers a brand new deal for the upcoming practice season. He promises to hook him up with an elite sparring opponent if he is down. Jumping up, Asai eagerly accepts the brutal challenge. Stepping back into the busy night streets, it finally hits the teen. This was literally the ultimate jackpot he could have asked for. From here on out, it is simply a waiting game. He is going to completely obliterate this guy and finally settle a toxic 20-year grudge. A few weeks roll by, and the special combat class finally kicks off. Nearby, a couple of random classmates are hyping up the big event. One guy admits he is super envious of anyone scoring FaceTime with Ingolf, but mid-sentence, a creepy detail totally derails their chat. Kioske is just chilling on a bench, radiating pure, unfiltered murder from his eyes. Freaked out, the blonde kid whispers that they need to bail immediately. They sprint away while Asai just glares into the distance, ready to unleash absolute hell. The dude totally promised they'd square up during today's practice. For Ingolf, this was likely just about flexing on some nosy rookie to put him in his place. But Kioske? He was ready to totally wreck the guy as payback for stabbing him in the back 20 years ago. Finally, sparring time kicked off. The teacher strolled onto the training grounds, taking his sweet time sizing up the whole class. Asai was practically glaring daggers at him, plotting pure payback. The big guy kicked things off by hyping up the class's progress, adding that just watching a fight is a massive learning curve too. So, to keep things spicy, he announced a live spar. He told everyone to chill out since he'd already picked his victim Asai, who confidently stepped right up. Totally shook, Mateo was keeping an eye on the whole crazy scene from way back. Ditching class was risky, but totally worth the hype. That girl from the Sublime Festival was hanging around watching too, looking super tight with her mentor. Gerardo totally got that weird feeling of being stared at, but she brushed it off because she was dying to know what our boy was cooking up. Both fighters were locked in and ready to brawl. Listen, Ingolf is an absolute beast. In the Holy Pentagram we're talking leagues above scrubs like Iwako or Lei. Even with those insane stats, Kioske was dead set on embarrassing the bearded dude today. The teacher swung first, casually charging up his arm and blasting straight ahead with wild energy. The sheer force of that hit was unreal, completely launching our guy backward. The whole class flipped, assuming it was some crazy wind spell, but Gerardo clocked it immediately. Dude's raw punch just literally ripped the air apart. Our main guy guessed the dude was running some crazy physical buffs, so he immediately cooked up an earth-based counter. This massive boulder ripped out of the dirt, but the teacher just casually one-punched it into literal dust, dusting himself off. Asai straight up asked if that was a physical buff, because that hit felt like getting rammed by a literal semi-truck. His earth barrier barely soaked up the damage. The raw power backing that swing was straight up glitching reality. Tugging at his cape, the big guy just laughed it off, telling the kid he hadn't even popped a single stat boost yet. Our hero just squints super hard, trying to process this absolute nonsense, while the dude suddenly spikes his aura to god-tier levels, smirking that this is his actual powered-up form. He literally punches oxygen, and this massive energy nuke shoots straight at Kioske. The raw flex leaves our guy frozen for a sec before he barely sidesteps it, not even breaking a sweat. The guy starts spamming absolute haymakers, forcing our hero into super sweat mode just trying to dodge. Mateo was losing his mind seeing his overpowered mentor getting pushed this hard. The bearded dude clocks that Kioske is totally relying on wind spells to slip away, so he just doubles down, launching a straight laser of a punch that Asai barely ghosts past at the final second. Concrete and rubble are literally flying everywhere, while our boy is zooming across the zone. Suddenly, he hits the brakes, deciding he's totally done running away. Seeing his target just stand there, the big guy pauses, figuring the kid is finally cooking up a comeback. Shirato instantly catches on. It's the exact same big brain play he pulled off back at the festival, that legendary combo spell that makes his eyes literally glow. Out of nowhere, all that floating arena rubble turns into homing missiles aiming right at the teacher. The guy throws his arms up fast to tank the hit, but the spell is packing so much heat, he's genuinely struggling to hold the line. A massive boom goes off, completely scattering shrapnel everywhere. A thick dust cloud rolls through, but when it fades, the dude is basically untouched. He totally tanked the hit, even if it drained his stamina. Looks like dude has leveled up insanely over the last 20 years. Smirking like a troll, he hypes up the attack and admits it's time to stop playing nice. Suddenly, this insane golden aura explodes around him like a literal lightning strike. Kioske's jaw practically drops. Pure, blinding magical energy is just surging through the big guy, lighting up the entire zone. Flexing super hard, the teacher hits him with the classic bring it on hand wave to keep the brawl rolling. This was a totally rogue spell even our hero hadn't seen before. Guess old dude picked up some new tricks over the last 2 decades. Locking into a combat stance, Kioske was totally ready to test those waters. Rocking that glowing purple eye aesthetic, he fired up his combo cast and launched it. It was a massive area of effect earth move, basically giving the guy zero space to slide out of the way. The floor directly under the teacher just completely detonated. The second his footing slipped, Asai was ready to nuke him with the combo spell. A literal tidal wave of glowing green energy went blasting straight for the guy's face. Mateo was absolutely hyping up his mentor from the sidelines, riding that positive vibe. Meanwhile, Shirato clocked the teacher, wobbling mid-air, the absolute perfect opening for a finishing blow. A massive magical tornado blasted right at the bearded guy, but he just stood there grinning, totally unfazed. He immediately started hyping himself up, screaming as he gathered his energy. Kioske just stared at him in pure shock, completely clueless about what was about to go down. The dude reached out like he was literally trying to catch the spell. Right as the vortex slammed into him, Golf's face twisted up, showing he was putting up an absolutely crazy amount of effort. Dropping his arms, the attack just washed right over him. Now, that bearded dude was wearing an incredibly wicked smirk. Kioske was totally mind-blown seeing his rival just shrug off that combo spell. Shirato was equally speechless that such a top-tier attack did 0 damage. Golf bragged that it was a sick hit, but it still could not crack his magical defenses. That glowing golden vibe around him finally made sense. It was literally a barrier of pure energy. Tanking a crazy combo attack like that without a single scratch meant his defense was absolutely busted. Walking forward, the guy smirked and claimed his barrier was not just for blocking. It turned his whole body into a literal weapon, mixing attack and defense. With that, he rushed straight at Kioske to strike. Jumping up to get the high ground, he missed as Kioske practically flew backward to dodge. Engulf's punch literally nuked the ground. Mateo watched in shock as a massive cloud of rubble blasted right toward Kioske. When the smoke finally cleared, both fighters were still on their feet. Engulf was way more overpowered than he was 20 years ago, making that energy shield a huge problem. Asai already had a comeback ready, but his spell was super unfinished, and he honestly doubted he could pull it off. The guy taunted his rival to make a move, warning that otherwise, he was wrapping this fight up right now. Super intense. Our main character knew he was basically out of options. Gripping his fist, The teen started channeling his aura. Golf saw the kid cooking up a spell, but out of nowhere, the entire vibe just completely changed. It felt like time literally froze around Ingolf. Millions of glowing sparks filled the air while Kyo pointed straight at him. Closing the distance, the older guy just swatted the magic away, violently blasting Kioske back. Just like he guessed, the kid was nowhere near ready to use that crazy move. Glaring at his opponent, the teen scrambled for a backup plan. But Ingolf dropped his guard and totally shocked everyone by calling it quits. He claimed they had gone way too hard for just a practice run. Hearing that, the kid could not stop shaking. Since the boss man ended things, the crowd figured practice was a wrap and just went back to whatever they were doing. Kids around campus started whispering that Asai could actually hold his own, but Ingolf totally dominated the whole match. Mateo ran up to his buddy, hyping him up for the epic clash. Hyuk knew he totally slept on the guy's skills. Right now, there was just no way he could win. To fix that, he desperately needed to level up his void abilities. The gossiping crowd had zero clue how busted Asai's true potential was. Meanwhile, Ingolf strolled through the wrecked arena, totally fascinated by the crazy skills he just witnessed. It had been ages since he got such an adrenaline rush. That clash definitely lit a fire in both of their hearts, and Ingolf knew for a fact that Asai was never the type to just give up and walk away. Chilling in his room, Ingolf sipped a drink and stared outside. It had been forever since a fight actually got him this hype, but honestly, Asai was way more of a beast than he ever imagined. There was a split second where he was genuinely terrified. Deep in thought, he remembered the only other time he ever felt that exact same panic. Way back then, Ingolf was on his knees defeated. He straight up asked the dude if he was saving that magic for last. The guy with the long hair just smiled, saying you always need a secret weapon to finish things off. Just like always, that kid stayed the same and completely blew past everyone's expectations. That is exactly why they were rivals. Pushing himself up, Golf challenged Kyoichiro to run it back one more time. Snapping back to reality, he figured the drink was just making him sentimental, though you really cannot fix broken history. Still, fighting someone who could actually match his vibe was something he missed like crazy, making Asai Kyoske showing up the best timing ever. For now, Ingolf just wants to see every insane trick the kid has. Over in the woods, Kyoske suddenly spots a super familiar setup. He totally knows he still cannot beat Golf and has to grind hard to level up. Luckily, this random dungeon right here is exactly what he needs for the ultimate training arc. The teen walks straight in, instantly feeling how intensely the gravity spikes compared to outside. Makes total sense why Ingolf hits like an absolute truck. So, our guy's top priority right now is leveling up his physical stats, get his base stats high enough to go toe-to-toe, and ban that secret spell he's cooking up becomes the ultimate game changer. Staring down a massive swarm of creeps, Kioske figures his rival can chill for a bit. Cut to 3 days later at school, where everyone is just vibing. Shirato totally catches on that Asai has completely ghosted the dorms ever since their massive clash. Out of nowhere, Mateo drags himself over looking completely wiped out. Honestly, the red-haired dude is just bored out of his mind without his boss. He perks up when he spots her though, immediately tagging her as just another one of his boss's massive fangirls. She jumps at the chance to ask where Kioske is hiding out. Mateo admits he is clueless, but drops a hint about him grinding levels in the eastern woods. That definitely sets off some major alarm bells for Shirato. She waves the guy off and dips, totally leaving Mateo convinced she is just a super hardcore groupie. Hitting the tree line, she starts piecing the clues together. There is a super secret underground zone out here that is literally made for grinding. How on earth would Asai even know about it though? A crazy theory hits her, making the whole vibe way more sketch. What if this Asai kid is actually just Misado Kioichiro playing dress-up? It clicks that like a month ago, she got super classified orders to hunt down Kyoichiro's secret identity. And guess who was prime suspect number 1? Her brain is basically spiraling over the chance that this kid is actually Misado. She starts creeping her way down into the depths. Having crashed this spot for an older gig, she knows firsthand that the vibe down here is absolutely savage. Seriously makes her question if a guy like Asai could even survive a basic workout down in this hellhole. Out of nowhere, she freezes, totally bugging out. There is this drenched dude radiating crazy energy, just chilling in a sea of dead beasts. Squinting from afar, the guy does not even look like the old Asai anymore. Did he seriously solo this entire mob? This is way crazier than she ever expected. The second she dips out of the cave, she is already dialing up her boss. She drops the bomb that our boy might have literally caught up to Ingolf's insane power tier by now. The sketchy lady on the call asks if they are dealing with Kyoichiro here. Shirato straight up says it is a massive yes. That little update gets a wicked smirk out of the boss lady. Gazing at her screen, she purrs that it all makes sense, while a whole crowd grovels at her feet. The villainess mutters that the game is finally getting spicy. Throwing her hands up, she hypes her followers by claiming everything is going exactly to her master's script. Cut to those glowing rocks in Kioske's grind spot. After wiping out the last wave of creeps, our dude finally calls it quits on his epic training arc. Now, he is fully hyped and ready to wipe the floor with Ingolf. Meanwhile, a burner rings inside some super shady room. Iwako Hideki, literally one of the holy pentagram big shots, side-eyes the screen before picking it up. Boom, it is Ingolf on the line. His face totally drops the second he recognizes the voice, trying to play it cool while nervously asking what is wrong. Ingolf gets straight to the point, saying he needs to do a background check on this kid named Asai Kyoske. They trade a few details, and Ingolf basically says he has got all the tea he needs before signing off. Sweating bullets, Iwako slowly sets the receiver down. Ingolf digging into the kid's backstory threw him for a massive loop, but spilling the tea that it is actually Kyoichiro? Yeah, that would be an instant death wish. Miles away, Ingolf kills the call too. He can totally smell the lies on Iwako, even without hard receipts. Guess he has to escalate things himself. But right as he goes to bounce, something stops him dead in his tracks. Some creep slid an envelope right under his door. He tears into it, and you can instantly see the color drain from his face. He grips his shirt like he just read the most cursed news ever. Looking absolutely feral, he mutters that he knew it all along. Cue the dramatic flashback to him, and Kyoichiro chilling on a cliffside. The dude with the long hair brings up how Ingolf's home base got totally wrecked, so obviously, he has got his back. Ingolf pitches this government-funded raid that would basically make Kyoichiro filthy rich. Staring up at the clouds, Kyoichiro just roasts the elites for flexing their cash, saying he would rather carry the actual newbies who need him. Ingolf laughs, calling him a total softie. Getting on his feet to check out the view, Kyoichiro admits the aesthetic up there is crazy good. It is Kell Hill, literally the ultimate sunset gazing spot. He easily calls out how much this turf means to his buddy, but Ingolf cuts the vibe, getting super intense. He vows to max out his stats, not just for his turf, but to defend every zone getting griefed by the monsters. Flashing a grin, Kyoichiro locks in to tag along, promising to totally grind out some levels while they tour the map. Ingolf flashes a grin and tells him to bring the heat. Back then, they were totally tight, hanging out on that hill and pushing their skills to the absolute limit. But a dark memory messes with his head. He flashes back to sprinting for his life through a blazing skyline. That is when he witnessed a sight that totally broke him. Quiro just stood there in the inferno, soaking in the destruction with this sick, twisted grin. Total supervillain energy. He is leaving Nathaniel, Claudia, and the whole Holy Pentagram crew out of this drama. Taking down Quiro is a solo mission. Miles away, our main guy just chills, strolling down the campus corridors. The next major training session is exactly 1 week out. Round 2 against Ingolf is coming up, but a sudden shout snaps him out of it. It is Mateo hollering for his boss. The red-haired dude sprints over, totally hyped to see his buddy again. He is rushing to hand off a note from the principal. Asai grabs it, looking super confused at first, but rips it open right away to see what is up. Whatever he reads absolutely floors him. When Mateo tries peeking, Kioske shuts it down real quick. Playing it cool, he brushes it off as nothing. Honestly, the whole sketchy vibe leaves his red-haired friend seriously weirded out. Little do they know, somebody is creeping behind the columns. Shirato is definitely cooking up some shady scheme. Out in a vibrant, grassy clearing, Golf is just chilling. The second Kyoske rolls up, he spots him instantly. They cross paths at Kell Hill, and the tension is wild. Golf knows the dark truth. This kid is actually Misado Kioichiro. Not even sweating that his cover is blown, our hero casually asks why they are even hanging out here. Golf glares at his old buddy, asking if it is not painfully obvious. While his aura totally flares up, dropping into a fighting pose, he swears he is going to wipe Misado off the face of the planet. Lighting up his own palms, the teen smirks, claiming he will definitely pack him in a body bag first. But Kioske pauses. He just has to know how his secret identity got busted. The bearded guy shrugs, saying that is dead info, but he decides to spill the tea anyway. He admits the Holy Pentagram has zero clue. This is strictly a personal grudge, hence the secret meetup spot. Ingolf promises he will not hold back this time, completely unable to let those past horrors slide. Kioske flashes a mocking grin, basically saying they are completely on the same wavelength then. The tension spikes as their fighting spirits erupt. Just like in practice, Ingolf's magical defense can tank absolutely anything thrown at it. So, in his mind, Kyoichiro is basically set up to lose big time. Engulf rushes in hot, throwing a massive hook before blasting magic right through his combos. The hits inch dangerously close to our lead, while the cocky warrior waits to see how he reacts. Last time they fought, the kid just ran away. If he pulls that coward stunt again, one solid blast will end it all. But plotting a wild twist, Kioske dashes straight ahead. His eyes are dead focused, completely catching Ingolf off guard. The teen is sprinting at max velocity, channeling some crazy green gale energy. He rips a massive cyclone at his rival, while his other fist erupts into flames, ready to smash. Their fists collide with an absolutely deafening crash. The shockwave sends them both flying. Kioske scrambles to stand, realizing that defensive shell is literally bulletproof. Not only did the guy eat his punches like candy, but Golf's offensive game is way more lethal now. At the same time, Ingolf clocks a massive change in Asai. He definitely leveled up, but there is totally more to it. The kid is straight up mimicking his defensive shell, which makes the older guy absolutely see red. Thinking it is completely lame, Ingolf mocks him, claiming he finally cracked the code to his powers. That hyped-up void trick is just a cheap knockoff skill. And honestly, a fake will never beat the real deal. He does admit time manipulation is sick though, a skill he honestly used to worship. But Kioske fell off hard. He is washed up and has zero chance of shattering that barrier. Glowing with absolute power, Engulf looks confident as hell. Asai smirks, admitting the mimicry is close, but his void abilities are way more insane. It took forever, but now he is ready to flex. Engulf spots the exact same fighting pose the kid attempted in practice, but he could not care less. Without hesitating, the dude makes his move and rushes in. Fully convinced his magical defenses are totally unbreakable, he charges in for a massive punch, while Asai just keeps on charging up that crazy void energy. Ingolf throws absolutely everything behind this wild strike at our main guy. But right before it connects, the script completely flips. Crimson sprays everywhere. Ingolf suddenly feels super off, looking down to realize his striking arm just got absolutely wrecked out of nowhere. Against all odds, our boy somehow shattered that so-called invincible defense. Ingolf is completely shook since nobody in history has ever pulled this off. Kioske casually reminds him he warned him earlier void energy is way more than mere imitation. Eyes wide, Ingolf stares in pure shock. Out of nowhere, Asai is gripping a blazing greatsword and screaming his lungs out. Freaking out, the big guy demands answers. Turns out, the whole point of void casting is literally manifesting your imagination. And now, the brood is about to experience that crazy power firsthand. Still mind blown, Ingolf questions if Kioske literally dreamed up that blazing blade out of absolutely nothing. Bingo, that is exactly what went down. This weapon was custom built just to shred that specific barrier, a completely unique masterpiece, found nowhere else. Even looking right at it, the dude is totally flabbergasted, completely failing to wrap his head around how a random sword busted his ultimate defense. Kioske spots his rival's total confusion, which is hilarious since the guy wouldn't stop flexing about his unbreakable shield earlier. Livid, Ingolf swears his defense is flawless, but Kioske exposes a massive loophole. The spell's core trait basically just turns aura into steel. Freaking out, the brute demands to know how he figured that out. Kioske just smirks, explaining that copying the exact same move gave away all its secrets. At the end of the day, even the toughest steel melts. That is exactly why our boy spawned a blade burning hot enough to turn heavy metal into liquid. Completely speechless, the big guy recalls his suit tanking tons of elemental hits, even flames, leaving him wondering just how scorching this new blade actually is. Dead serious, Kioske tells him to wake up and smell the coffee. There is no holding back now. Clenching his jaw, the brute growls at him to stop acting cocky, insisting one flashy gimmick will not win the fight. He sprints straight ahead, winding up for a massive hook, screaming about smashing that smug attitude to pieces while punching the fiery weapon head-on. Not even blinking, Kioske blocks the heavy hit, gripping his glowing weapon super hard. Then he swings back with everything he has got, sending his rival flying across the battlefield. Battered from the massive hit, the huge dude stumbles and crashes to the dirt, totally rattled. He simply cannot process getting dominated like this. Kioske starts roasting him, pointing out that whenever he gets triggered, his attacks turn insanely sloppy and super readable, a bad habit he clearly never dropped. That trash talk absolutely triggers the guy, making him launch a wild sucker punch while screaming for silence. But all that hype goes absolutely nowhere since our protagonist effortlessly sidesteps it. Not taking the hint, the bulky warrior keeps swinging wildly, roaring at his rival to keep his tragic backstory out of his mouth. Glaring with pure rage, he desperately throws hands, screaming that it was actually our hero who torched his entire village to the ground back then. That wild claim completely catches the kid off guard, and he tries clearing his name. But the big guy is way too blinded by anger to hear logic anymore. Realizing words are totally useless here, the hero decides to bust out a different strategy. He channels glowing sapphire aura into his palm, doing a wide sweep that triggers a massive burst of electricity and thick smog right in the middle of them. Completely blinded now, the enraged warrior still tries gearing up for another combo, only to freeze when a burning sword tip suddenly presses right against his throat. The team could easily finish the match right now, but he just keeps the blade steady, staring down his opponent with a dead serious glare. Panicking hard, the giant starts sweating bullets. He shuts his eyes, wondering out loud why it ended up like this, admitting he genuinely thought they were meant to be epic rivals, pushing each other to max potential. He sounds super heartbroken about the whole situation derailing so badly. Looking totally grave, our protagonist opens his mouth to reply, but some random projectile completely ruins the moment, sniping the big guy right in the spine. He immediately faceplants into the dirt before he can even react. Totally lost, our hero tries to process this crazy sneak attack, but his rival is already down for the count, while some mysterious chick strolls up rocking a crossbow. She smirks and casually mentions she is absolutely not letting him end this party early. The kid glares daggers at her. Turns out, it is none other than Claudia, literally one of the legendary 5-star saints. The lady throws out a chill greeting, noting it has been a hot minute, totally exposing that she knows his secret identity too. Sporting a wicked grin, she claims she would love a cute little catch-up session. But there is zero time for that, since the real chaos is just kicking off. Some insane mystic energy from the girl suddenly floods the downed warrior, lifting him off the ground like a creepy puppet completely stripped of free will. The bossy saint literally commands the two dudes to slaughter one another on the spot, sounding totally dead inside. The control giant simply agrees to execute her orders. A dramatic breeze whips through her hair right as another person walks up, giving her the signal that the timer is up. Catching sight of this new arrival, our hero absolutely loses his cool. Chilling right next to the blonde girl is literally Shirado Suyuki. Totally stunned by the sudden music, our guy demands to know why she is answering to Claudia. But zero answers drop before that girl forces the ultimate grudge match. Kioske screams Claudia's name, yet he gets absolutely ghosted. That toxic purple energy pulsing inside Ingolf goes into overdrive, making Kioske clutch his blazing blade way harder. Completely hijacked by Claudia, the massive dude staggers up, shrieking in pure agony, while his magic shield flares into existence. Dead serious, our main guy clocks that his opponent has totally lost his marbles. It is an absolute brainwash courtesy of Claudia. Having tested a bootleg version of this on Yoichi, he knows snapping him out of it will be a complete nightmare. Still, throwing down is literally his only option right now. Out of nowhere, Ingolf roars in pure misery and blitzes straight at Kioske like an absolute rocket. Asai recycles his previous strategy, keeping a cool head to predict those incoming strikes. Locking his stance, he braces for the swift rush. Our hero barely weaves out of the way when the bearded dude swings, but completely eats the follow-up hook, getting blasted straight across the dirt. That insane knockout power catches him way off guard, though he bounces right back up, definitely sweating a bit more now. Taking a breath, he spots Ingolf swinging his completely mangled arm like it is brand new, with those muscles bulging in a super freaky way. People always talk about the human brain capping our true physical limits. Looks like Claudia completely deleted that safety switch, which tracks perfectly for the undisputed queen of mind control. With Ingolf moving at literally broken speeds, Kioske knows he has to wrap this brawl up fast. Locking onto his opponent, Kioske runs the math on his next combo, pointing his weapon straight at the dude. The second Ingolf twitches, Asai drops low, aiming right to slice his legs out. That slash connects perfectly, scoring a solid hit that gives our guy a massive confidence boost. Crazy enough, those huge leg gashes do not slow the beast down for a single second. He launches a monstrous haymaker with that destroyed arm, forcing our hero into a clutch dodge while prepping a quick blade counter. Kioske is honestly blown away that the guy is still standing after taking so much damage. Right then, that puppet master energy shifts, totally changing the big guy's vibe. Asai stays hyper-focused, bracing for whatever crazy stunt happens next. Showing off some sick footwork, he slips past a totally random jab, grounding his stance to tank the incoming strike. But honestly, the teen is entirely clueless about what is going down. The dude looks absolutely tortured while that toxic fog burns away, like the mind wipe is literally glitching out. There is zero chance Claudia messes up a spell like this. If she drafted Ingolf as her pawn, the control should be flawless. The whole vibe is insanely weird, But Kioske shelves the detective work for later. With his personal magic barrier cracking, he is forced to drop his ultimate attack. Gripping the fire blade, our boy sprints at top speed to punish that open gap, fighting through the brainwash. Ingolf spots the rush and swings right back. An absolute shockwave shatters the arena the second those epic attacks collide. Sporting completely trashed hands, Golf stumbles backward and fumbles his weapon, letting Kioske cup his hands for a massive finisher, funneling pure energy into a point-blank concussion blast. The magic slams directly into his ribs, generating a deafening crack as the power detonates. Pure quiet falls over the zone moments later. Totally drained, Golf collapses right into Asai's waiting arms. Barely breathing, the giant taps out. Kioske nods, claiming another flawless victory. Chuckling, the big dude mocks the teen's massive ego. He admits the brawl got his adrenaline pumping, though taking those magical hits triggered a wild realization. Kioske was definitely not the guy who torched his village back in the day. Ingolf instantly passes out cold in the dirt right after. Totally rattled by that claim, Kioske begs for some context. After dark, a crackling campfire lights up the camp. Ingolf slowly blinks awake, and Kioske instantly notices the guy returning to reality. The scarred warrior drops the name Kyoichiro, gesturing at his fresh medical wrap to ask if the teen played doctor. Kioske nods, shrugging off the first aid as just some basic tape to keep him from bleeding out. Confused, the fiery-haired giant demands to know why a mortal enemy would bother healing him. Asai admits he is dying to know something. Right before blacking out, Ingolf claimed Kyoichiro never torched his home turf, and the teen absolutely needs the tea on that. Kyosuke mentions hearing rumors about that place burning to the ground 20 years back, wondering if the real arsonist got away. Picking up on the serious vibe, the bearded dude finally spills the tea on what actually went down. 20 years back, barely 7 days before that triple S-tier dungeon disaster, he knew exactly what he witnessed. He spotted Kyoichiro's shadow, torching his entire hometown. Kioske just stood there listening, looking totally mind-blown. Ingolf admitted he was in hard denial at first, totally unable to picture his rival pulling off something so twisted. But right there, with thousands of civilians caught in the blaze panicking, a guy looking exactly like Misado was just laughing like a complete maniac, leaving Kioske struggling to compute. Knowing he'd never do anything like that, he genuinely wondered who the heck Ingolf actually saw. Things got way messier when Ingolf dropped the bomb that they found a crazy detailed mass murder blueprint in Misado's room right after. Kioske's jaw practically hit the floor. The holy pentagrams instantly labeled Misado a total psycho in disguise, and Kiosuke knew exactly how that story ends. He could tell his rival was being dead serious, meaning somebody else set this whole trap up. Whatever Ingolf saw that night was definitely a massive illusion cooked up by the mastermind, messing with people's heads and planting fake memories. That immediately screamed one specific name: Claudia, the absolute queen of mind control. Kioske had actually copied her magic before, so he knew her tricks, inside and out. Glancing over, Kioske was just about to voice his theory, but Ingolf was already connecting the exact same dots. The bearded guy figured out Claudia's previous spell wasn't a buff at all. If she could brainwash someone into a deathmatch, blocking their memory check would be child's play. Ingolf locked eyes with his former buddy, piecing it all together. He knew Claudia totally manipulated his brain into swapping the real arsonist with Kioske. It made perfect sense. Getting to his feet, the bearded dude admitted he owed him a massive apology for the false accusations and doubting Kyoichiro. Kioske just stood there, kinda moved by how genuine he was being. Ingolf kept going, insisting that completely failing to trust his bro meant he needed to pay the price. He whipped out a tiny pocket knife, tossed it over to Asai, and literally told him to finish him off. He even offered to let him bury him right there as payback. Kioske stayed quiet for a sec, just reading the guy's vibe. Breaking the silence, he firmly called out Ingolf's name and pointed out the epic view from the hilltop, asking if it didn't hit him with nostalgia from their old training days. The bearded guy looked back, visibly emotional. They were practically brothers. And you don't just snap a bond like that. The psycho who tried ruining it definitely needed to be stopped. They officially shared a target now. Kioske held his hand out, inviting Ingolf to tag along for the payback tour. The move definitely caught him off guard, but holding on to toxic drama was never Kioske's thing anyway. Flashing a warm smile, the redhead totally agreed with every word his old pal dropped. They locked hands, and for a split second, 20 years of bad blood vanished, bringing back their classic dynamic, though the mission was far from over. A bit later, with the fire dead and just embers smoking, they locked in their next destination, the Mediterranean. Rumor had it Claudia straight up built a cult city out there, which was definitely her main headquarters. Ingolf tried to pitch a strategy, but Kyosuke immediately shut him down. He pointed out that Claudia probably assumes one of them didn't survive that fight, giving them a massive stealth advantage, since she thinks half the threat is gone. Time for a harsh reality check. Asai could pull off way more sneaky stuff if their enemy genuinely believed he was 6 feet under. So, the smartest play was for Ingolf to just keep acting like a normal holy pentagram. With Nathaniel moving in the shadows too, Kyosuke made it clear he was totally banking on his bro's tactical genius. Ingolf gave him a rock-solid promise that he had his back. Out of nowhere, something distracted Kioske, making him glance upwards. It had been a wild ride, but the game plan was set. He was about to make Claudia pay heavily for all her manipulative garbage. Hitting the shoreline, a lone seagull cruised over the gorgeous ocean waves. Our guy chilled against the boat's railing, scaring the bird off, while deep in thought about that whole German wild goose chase. Mateo's super depressing goodbye and the crazy plot twist with Ingolf were basically living rent-free in his head. He literally never guessed things would wrap up this nicely, but he couldn't afford to get emotional. The journey was dragging him straight to the Mediterranean islands next. Their target? That creepy remote island where Claudia corralled her mega fans to build a private utopia. It felt almost too easy. But that was hands down the most logical place she'd be hiding, since the place was crawling with cultists. Faking his way in as a loyal follower was the ultimate strat. Time to bust out that void magic. Asai threw on a quick cloaking hex. Not flawless, but it totally did the trick. On the boat, some fancy dude puffing a cigar rolled up, asking if he was heading to pray to Borgasm too. Kyosuke figured that had to be Claudia's whole cult setup, so he just nodded along. The guy totally hyped him up, acting super impressed by how dedicated someone so young could be. He bragged about bringing a massive donation to score a VIP meet and greet with Claudia, since only top tiers get access. Soaking in the intel, our boy remembered this weird sect literally gave their members tier levels. The intercom suddenly blared, telling everyone to pack it up because they were finally hitting the docks. By the time the rich dude spun back around, Kyosuke was already a ghost. Mustache guy just stood there baffled, swearing he was chatting with a kid but completely blanking on his face. That was all the proof Asai needed. Time to finally collect on that 20-year grudge against Claudia. The skyline was packed with rusty, raw brick architecture. Taking in the crazy view, Kyosuke literally lost his words, totally blending in with the crowd of tourists, snapping pics. Dead center sat this absolute unit of a tower, piercing the clouds so high you could not even spot the top. Way chunkier than your average high-rise. Rumor had it, the Borgo Tower held a whole literal city inside. Eavesdropping on some locals, he realized Claudia started with a tiny shack here 20 years back. Now she had somehow flexed it into a full-blown megacity, with a crazy huge fanbase swarming the place. Slipping in was going to be a breeze, especially packing his void magic to bypass the heavy guard. He waltzed right through the scanners and checkpoints, without tripping a single alarm. Just like that, he snagged his shiny new Tier 1 Borganist badge. Your level literally dictates your living arrangements, sticking him at the bottom until he grinds through their trials. Hitting rank 7 was the golden ticket to finally get FaceTime with the boss lady herself. Stepping through the massive front gates, he was greeted by insanely lavish, mile-long hallways. His fake ID trick totally paid off, and the magic ensured those guards would not remember a single detail. He froze in his tracks. Peeking out the glass, he crossed a massive sky bridge staring down at the cultist paradise. The whole block was totally decked out with insane, larger-than-life statues. Mind-blowing how this much space fit indoors. Cutting through an alleyway, a sudden commotion instantly grabbed his focus. A squad of bouncers were totally walling some dude off. It was the stash guy from the boat, looking absolutely pissed while security blocked his level 1 pass. The guy was having none of it and practically body-checked the guard, screaming about needing to see Claudia right now. But mid-sprint, a freak lightning bolt snared his ankles and totally zapped him. The dude hit the floor completely knocked out cold. The guards just shrugged it off, proving to Kyosuke that trying to punch his way through this fortress was a no-go. Claudia was definitely chilling way up in the penthouse, meaning he had to play their little games and level up. Our boy locked in, ready to grind from the absolute bottom of the food chain. Meanwhile, high up in one of the glitzy spires, some lackey handed Father Samoa the fresh roster of newbies to set up the daily gauntlet. The priest sighed hard, complaining about having to babysit and test another batch of clueless sheep. Chilling on a bench, our guy was practically laughing at how stupid easy it was to break in. Now he just had to clear their vibe check to rank up. Out of nowhere, a literal messenger pigeon dropped in. The note ordered all fresh meat to hit up the North Mansion on level 1. Smirking, He knew the game was officially on. He hopped up, totally hyped to absolutely crush whatever trial came next. Over at the spot, a whole squad of fresh-faced recruits was already hanging out. Samoa stepped up as their new head honcho, asking everyone to spill their sob stories on why they joined up. Up first was this short-haired girl looking like a total deer in headlights. She nervously muttered about needing to see Claudia because some sketchy plague had her grandma completely bedbound back home. So basically, she's crossing her fingers that Claudia will swoop in and save the day. Kioske watches her, totally impressed she'd risk it all just for her hometown and fam. But the other teens start roasting her muddy outfit and her wild dream of conquering the spire. Samoa cuts in, asking the haters what's so hilarious and if they're also trying to see Claudia. Looking totally busted, the duo mumbles an apology. Samoa then drops a reality check about the brutal climb ahead. He tosses out 1 year and 99%, challenging the squad to guess the meaning. It takes 1 whole year just to hit rank 2, while 99% crash out on floor 1. Tons of people show up desperate for a miracle, only to get absolutely wrecked. Still, he wraps up by calling their ambition pretty epic before dropping the details on their first trial. Head over to the Northeast Dungeon and wipe out 500 beasts. The crew is left totally speechless. He mentions, you gotta snatch the gems those creatures drop as solid proof you actually did the work. Music, there is zero time crunch, so everyone can just grind at their own personal pace. Wrapping up his speech, the cleric casually mentions he is expecting some top-tier performance from them. Those loudmouth guys exchange panicked looks, but our raggedly dressed heroine keeps her eyes locked and fierce. Kioske totally spots her main character energy. Catching up to her later, he admits her reaction seriously surprised him. Remembering him from the briefing, she tilts her head and asks exactly what caught him off guard. He points out she didn't even flinch while everyone else freaked out. Shutting her eyes, she confesses she is secretly terrified. Yes, music, but backing down isn't an option when her hometown needs saving. Flashing a grin, she asks if he is shooting for the stars too. Kioske gets a major vibe that she's totally unique, though dissecting her whole deal right now feels pointless. Darkness finally blankets the massive spire. Across town, that mustache dude practically hugs the counter, thanking Samoa, hyped to flex his brand new rank 2 pendant. The priest smirks, calling it a blessing from above. The guy swaggers off, whistling a tune while clutching a fat briefcase under his arm. Left alone with a fresh glass of expensive wine, Samoa mentally gloats over his toxic little side hustle. He deliberately rigs the trials so nobody passes fairly, basically extorting fat stacks of cash from desperate climbers. That northeast zone is packed with nightmare fuel, wrecking any weaklings. Broke kids can just choke on their shattered dreams forever. Dwelling on his twisted scam sends the cleric into an absolute fit of unhinged, evil cackling. Meanwhile, our boy scales a rooftop for the vibes and completely eavesdrops on the psycho giggling below. It is straight-up comic book villain behavior. Literally the soundtrack of a dude milking everyone dry. It clicks that while the squad genuinely prays for a moment with Claudia, music, these sketchy priests are literally just scamming them. Fast forward to morning, Samoa is grinding through boring paperwork when a sudden knock interrupts his flow. He barks out a greeting before Kioske steps in, fake apologizing. Long story short, our dude claims he speedran the trial, slamming a massive bag onto the desk. Spilling out are those exact violet gems you only score by slaughtering the beasts. Samoa's jaw practically hits the floor. Desperately trying to mask his shock, he stammers out a fake congratulation for the insane flex. Flashing a super cocky smirk, Kioske drops the guy's name, casually suggesting he shut his blinds if he wants to keep his shady little secrets hidden. The cleric instantly pales, totally spooked. Panicking over what this kid actually overheard last night, his shaky paranoia rapidly shifts into pure, toxic rage. Watching those violet gems scatter, he swears there is no way some random punk is gonna boss him around his own turf. Shooting literal daggers from his eyes, Samoa silently promises to turn this entire city into the kid's permanent cemetery. Late at night up in his bougie fortress, Samoa was tweaking out. Getting verbally trashed by some teenager was a massive blow to his ego. Maybe the kid thought he was giving a friendly heads up, but honestly, playing the moral high ground is just cringe. Flashing a wicked grin, a light bulb suddenly went off in the scumbag's head. He'd cook up a custom phase 2 just for this arrogant rookie. Meanwhile, back at the dorms, our boy was zoning out the window. Shrugging into his jacket, he mentally noted how the corrupt cleric was weirdly quiet so far. The old guy definitely wasn't dumb enough to try any messy hit jobs right inside the main headquarters. Out of nowhere, a literal messenger bird crashes his window with a scroll attached. The memo outlined his next mission, demanding he pull up to some random set of coordinates. Kyosuke instantly clocked what was going on. They were trying to off him, while making it look like a totally normal quest. Honestly, it was a massive win-win situation for Samoa. He could evaluate a student and finally take out his biggest hater at the same time. The letter claimed his grand trial was just wiping out a dungeon boss. Even though this was the most obvious bait ever, Kioske honestly could not care less, and just completely sent it. Before long, he pulled up to this insane lava cave dungeon out on the southern island of Bourjou. The second he walked in, the scorching heat hit him like a truck. Samoa clearly wanted him dead for exposing his sketchy deals, so this place was basically a death trap. There was a super high chance the shady priest had a backup scheme lined up, so our guy definitely needed his own counter strategy. Right as he was zoning in, something super suspicious caught his eye. A massive blast erupted straight out of the magma, and in less than a second, an absolute swarm of monsters spawned. We are talking literal fire-breathing dinosaurs, super rare pack hunters, perfect for a top-tier zone. But honestly, our dude was totally ready for this. He instantly flexed his void magic, blasting the entire pack with brutal ice spikes that shredded right through them. All that insane grinding for the engulf battle was absolutely paying dividends. Having completely crushed the opening wave, he just kept walking, but he totally sensed a stalker on his tail. Some super sketchy dude in a hood was hanging way back, trying to play it stealthy. Meanwhile, miles away, some guy was stressing out to Samoa about our totally unhinged hero, sweating bullets. The guy pointed out that if the kid cleared the first stage in under 24 hours, that boss was basically toast. But the priest, he was insanely cocky, basically laughing it off because zero top-tier students had ever pulled off something that wild. Plus, he had already rigged the game by hiring a pro hitman to make sure the kid did not make it out alive, totally shocking his buddy. Back down in the blazing caves, though, the hitman was actually losing his mind watching Kioske absolutely one-shot the main boss. Still, he figured the kid was completely clueless he was there. The killer literally thought raw power meant nothing against a flawless sneak attack. As he crept closer to his target, he locked in, raising his blade for the ultimate jump scare, but immediately face-planted hard. It felt like an invisible wall just crushed his legs. That is exactly when the dude realized his entire lower body was turned into a literal ice cube. Flailing around helplessly, the guy was just completely mind-blown, having zero clue how our main character spotted his stealth mode. Kioske just strolled right up, dropping cold facts about how predators always forget they can easily become prey. Glowing magic butterflies were literally swirling all around the hitman. It was a slick tracking hex he had casually dropped the exact second he walked into the cave system. That spell kept him locked on the entire time. Snatching the guy right by the shirt, Asai hit him with the most sarcastic smirk ever, whispering about how tragic his little ambush fail was. Fast forward a bit, the corrupt priest was chilling in his office when a super random delivery showed up. Bro opened it to find an actual detached hand. He was completely freaking out over the gory gift, right as his worst nightmare walked through the door. Looking totally unscathed, the kid casually complained about how the final monster was slightly more annoying than he thought it would be. Then he casually name-dropped that some random cloaked weirdo tried to jump him, clearly acting on someone's shady payroll. Dripping with absolute sarcasm, he wondered out loud what kind of coward would try a stunt like that. Then he just spun around, claiming he was mega hyped for round 3. The priest was low-key glitching out, wondering why the kid never snitched to the authorities about the hit, until a dark realization hit him. Our boy likely did not have enough hard evidence to actually expose the corruption yet. Or maybe he was just dodging a massive PR scandal for himself. Either way, Samoa figured he had to do the dirty work personally now. Even though the teen was insanely overpowered, the priest was totally convinced Claudia's magical ring could literally delete the kid from reality. Later that night, 2 teens were just wandering down the pavement. One guy was super frustrated about missing his quota again, ranting about how toxic the vibe had become ever since Samoa took charge. His blonde buddy basically trauma-dumped about fleeing his home country, only to realize he would probably never even hit the 2nd tier at this garbage pace. Eavesdropping on that completely shifted Kioske's whole mood. Just down the block, a couple of guards were standing around looking incredibly dead inside. Out of nowhere, our guy rolled right up to them, flashing a totally innocent grin and asking for a quick favor. After a super chill chat, he hyped them up, thanked them for the intel, and dipped out. The guards were left with serious weird vibes, mostly because this random kid was probing hard about the exact date a massive VIP priest was doing a walkthrough. Skip ahead a bit, and this tiny white bird drops off a letter detailing his absolute final exam for Layer 1. Smirking to himself, Kioske knew that booking the trial on that exact calendar date was basically screaming how desperate the corrupt boss truly was. Stepping outside, he casually sparked his void energy, spawning a whole flock of illusion birds that totally jump-scared the locals as they blasted into the sky. Every single bird carried a note in its claws. The moment people grabbed the messages, they started reading right away. Even some totally broke-looking girl got one. Another pigeon dropped a message right onto this guy with crazy long white hair strolling downtown. With his master scheme finally in motion, Kioske knew things were going perfectly. It was payback time for Samoa, who had been treating the loyal followers like absolute garbage. Soon after, our main guy and the corrupt cleric squared off right in the middle of the arena. Samoa eyed the kid, asking if he was prepped for the ultimate exam. Kioske played along, totally acting hyped that the guy showed up himself. But Samoa could tell Asai was faking it. He knew the kid had completely eavesdropped on his shady plots and figured out about the hitman. This bottom floor was strictly his turf, and the twisted cleric was ready to play dirty to wipe this kid out. Flashing a super cocky smirk, Kioske joked about the massive crowd turning up. The shady guy glanced over his shoulder and spotted a huge mob rolling in. All those flying notes had invited them to witness this final showdown. Within minutes, the whole stadium was absolutely jam-packed with spectators, totally stunned. Music. Samoa scanned the stands, suddenly realizing this annoying teen had actually gathered the whole audience. Just as he wondered what the catch was, our guy yelled at the top of his lungs, exposing all the dark secrets of the corrupt cleric. He put the dude on full blast for rigging exams and only passing rich snobs who handed over fat stacks of cash, plus hiring a literal hitman to silence him. The audience lost their minds in disbelief, while the exposed official basically fumed. Backed into a corner, he just inhaled deeply and desperately tried to play it off as some massive prank. Deep down, though, the guy was terrified the kid had legit receipts. Music. So, he kicked off the trial instantly, figuring dead teens tell no tales. He instantly spawned a pack of nightmare beasts to rush Kioske, low-key flexing his insane magic skills for the crowd. Staring him down with pure crazy in his eyes, the villain bragged that surviving this would earn the kid a promotion. Honestly, though, he was dead certain this attack would totally wreck him. Not backing down at all, our guy sparked up his dark energy, instantly freezing every single beast in its tracks, leaving the corrupt boss absolutely shook. Grinning like crazy, Kioske basically hit him with an oops, joking that nobody said beating the summons was against the rules. The entire audience went absolutely feral, and even that broke girl from earlier was completely blown away. Furious, the villain squeezed his hands tight, fuming over the kid's mega ego. He wasn't about to let some nobody ruin his perfect setup. Next, he whipped out this sketchy ring and slid it on, totally convinced it would give him an insane power buff. Kioske totally caught him equipping the shiny cheat code. Throwing his arm up, the boss dared the kid to step up and taste his ultimate strength. The accessory started glowing with this creepy red aura. Then, hilariously, absolutely zero happened. The stadium went dead quiet. Everyone was super confused until people started laughing, roasting the guy by saying doing zero damage must be his ultimate move. Hands literally shaking, the exposed dude started panicking since that jewelry was supposed to make him completely overpowered. Out of nowhere, someone chimed in, saying the artifact basically rejects toxic people. That essentially confirmed all the kid's brutal callouts were totally legit. Kioske's face lit up when he spotted the VIP crashing the party. Even the villain was completely paralyzed, seeing the white-haired guy step up. It turned out to be Lord Egido Norman, a top-tier boss from floor number 5. The new arrival roasted him on the spot, saying that getting rejected by a holy relic means you are hiding some incredibly shady secrets. Looking sick to his stomach, the scammer was completely cornered. Egido just gave him this savage glare, making the fake cleric literally shake in his boots. Kioske just watched the drama unfold, pretty shocked that such an elite boss, music, actually showed up, but figured this plot twist would be wildly entertaining. The snowy-haired dude mentioned getting a super weird drop when he hit the first floor. Freaking out, the scammer stammered, asking what the note said. Egido dropped the bomb. The letter promised a live unmasking of the local scammer, inviting everyone to the arena for the massive drama. Hearing that, the villain literally looked like he had seen a ghost. The high-tier boss announced that this arrogant, greedy fraud was about to catch some serious karma according to their strict laws. The scammer finally clicked that the kid played dumb the whole time just to wreck him publicly. Still, he desperately hoped there were zero actual receipts, so, he figured, pleading the fifth was his absolute best shot at surviving this mess. Gulping loudly, the cornered dude shot his shot, sounding totally pathetic. He tried to play the victim, claiming the whole scandal was just a huge misunderstanding. The guy claimed to be Claudia's ultimate fanboy, swearing up and down that he would never pull anything shady. Egido wasn't buying it. He fired back, asking why the magic band totally failed if he was so innocent. Turns out, that little piece of jewelry doesn't just boost your hidden stats based on loyalty. It has a secret feature. Whenever some creep tries to use it for bad vibes, it instantly alerts the big bosses upstairs. The whole crowd practically choked on their own breath. While Kioske figured out the item was basically a built-in lie detector, flashing a chillingly polite grin, Ajito asked for an explanation. The corner guy panicked, desperately pleading his case. Sighing like a tired dad, Ajito dropped the nice guy act and commanded him to spill the actual facts with a deadly glare. That sudden switch from friendly to terrifying absolutely wrecked the corrupt dude's nerves. The boss pointed out how he had rudely cut the kid off earlier to rush the exam, which was super sketchy from the start. Stuttering uncontrollably, the guy was out of excuses. Ajito coldly announced his days of dragging the religion's name through the mud were over. Completely frozen, the shady fraudster could only stand there looking like a deer in headlights. Getting uncomfortably close, the superior whispered that he could literally torture the truth out of him, daring him to test his luck. Utterly terrified, the dude just kept his mouth shut before finally squeezing his eyes tight in defeat. Knowing the gig was totally up, he admitted to setting up fake exams to scam desperate believers out of their cash. The entire arena went wild over the massive scandal, while Asai just stood there casually with his hands in his pockets. Security was immediately called in to take out the trash, dragging the kicking and screaming loser out of the ring. Flipping his long hair back, the boss faced the bleachers and announced it was time for some heavy damage control. Yelling so the back row could hear, he apologized intensely for the insane level of corruption they all just witnessed. But to keep the church from getting totally canceled over this mess, he bribed the whole crowd by bumping them up to rank 2. The audience absolutely lost their minds, cheering and throwing a massive party right then and there. He then told the crowd to give it up for Kyo, since the kid was the real MVP for exposing the rat. Massive cheers rained down on Asai as the boss promised him a sweet payout later before dramatically exiting stage left. To our hero, though, this higher-up felt like a way more dangerous con artist than the scrub they just busted. Hidden in the crazy mob, a casually dressed girl watched everything unfold, making a mental note to owe the kid one. Fast forward a couple of hours, and the boss is wrapping up paperwork, hyping up how one rookie saved the day. He noted that if this drama had dragged on, the entire organization would have faced a massive public relations nightmare. Somewhere else entirely, a sketchy group was gossiping about how the whole scamming situation was a total disaster. They did agree, though, that the kid who snitched played it perfectly and was totally prime material. The boss smirked, saying he was already cooking up a crazy offer for him. Cut to our main guy trekking up some heavily guarded steps, rocking a fresh chain with the number 5 on it. He strolled right through the VIP forest section of the campus. Skipping straight to rank 5 was insane, but he figured they were just using him as the ultimate poster boy. Either way, it was a massive win. He rolled up to a gorgeous mansion and confidently walked right through the front doors. The long-haired guy was waiting with a grin, and Kyosuke stepped up to give props for the sick level up. Waving it off, the superior said it was just standard protocol for someone who actually pulls their weight. Asai was still totally suspicious of his vibe, but the boss interrupted his thoughts to drop one more bombshell update. Caught completely off guard, the kid asked what else was going on. The guy dropped a nuke. Because of his epic stunt, they were actually letting him meet the legendary Claudia. The rookie was absolutely floored that his ultimate goal happened this fast. Trying to play it cool, he squeezed his hands tight and accepted politely. Flashing a bright grin, he totally took the deal. Meanwhile, Iwako was practically having a mental breakdown over the tea. Hopping on the villain video chat, Ingolf broke the news that the reborn Kyoichiro got totally wrecked. Claudia chimed in, saying him being there was solid proof. Honestly, Ingolf was stunned. She even had it in her to do that. Laughing awkwardly, the priestess said sorry, but hyped up the fact that they finally deleted a super annoying threat. Deep down, though, Ingolf was literally boiling with rage, having just found out she was the arsonist who torched his village. While they kept chatting, Nathaniel was quietly side-eyeing the entire squad, like they were all acting super suspicious. Still totally wrecked over the dude getting packed up, Iwako dropped to the floor, realizing his biggest headaches had just magically vanished. Claudia notes they've finally cleared the board, telling Nathaniel it's time to hash out the details for that divine gift ceremony. Ingolf keeps a close eye on her, totally racking his brain over what this shady ritual actually is. Nathaniel is all in, suggesting they dive deep into the specifics at their next sit-down since it's super crucial. Once the call drops, Ingolf immediately hits up Kioske to spill the tea. He seriously doubts staying hidden is smart, warning that Claudia might see right through his disguise magic. Totally shocked, Kioske teases his rival for caring, grinning as he flexes about leveling up his skills back in Germany. Still, Ingolf begs him to stay sharp. Claudia and Nathaniel are clearly cooking up something awful with that ceremony talk. Swearing to watch his back, Asai promises to ring him later, his radar now completely blaring over Claudia's sketchy motives. Over on the flip side, Kioske finally makes it all the way up to the 7th floor's ultimate temple at the Tower of the Faithful. With Agito giving him a 3-day window before the big meeting with Claudia, he's got to hustle and prove his theories right. Before long, catching a familiar vibe, he jokes about her saving him a manhunt. Yup, Shirato Yuki is lurking right behind a pillar, whispering that he's practically a walking neon sign. She drags him along as they climb up to a super secluded high tower. Skipping the small talk, Kioske dives right into the heavy stuff, demanding to know if she helped Claudia brainwash Ingolf. Shirato's face totally drops, prompting him to lay out his whole theory. The mind control on Ingolf was sloppy, and a perfectionist like Claudia wouldn't mess that up. That left Shirato as the only possible saboteur, which blew his mind, since she was supposed to be Team Claudia. Opening up, the girl admits she just can't bear watching Kyoichiro lose his life a second time. Her eyes pool with this intense heartbreak, hooking Asai completely. Then she rolls up her sleeve, revealing a blazing, flame-like tattoo that leaves him stunned. That glowing brand instantly triggers a super fuzzy memory for him. 20 years back, monsters jumped this little kid, forcing her to unlock a crazy power she totally couldn't handle, sending her on a massive rampage. In a wild twist of fate, they shared the exact same time magic, but unleashing that much raw juice absolutely wrecked her tiny, fragile frame. To stop her from literally exploding, Kyoichiro stepped up and sucked all that chaotic energy into his own body. Cradling her, he noticed she'd barely made it out alive, permanently scarred with a bright red mark. Mind-blown, Shirato was that very same kid. She goes on, explaining how the second she finally woke up from all that chaos, everyone branded her a traitorous criminal, pinning the entire dungeon catastrophe on Kyoichiro too. But in her gut, she knew her hero would never do something so twisted, so she cozied up to Claudia to dig out the real story. She grinded for 10 straight years, finally getting tight enough with Claudia to hear the actual truth drop from the priestess herself. Following that massive drama with Rei Ruaki, she got direct orders to track down Kyoiro's current reincarnation. She honestly thought his rebirth was pure cap, but while he was grinding over in Germany, she hit up Asahi Karen. The moment Karen started dropping details about his personality, the pieces just flawlessly fell into place. She knew right then it was her hero. His vibes were perfectly matched to the Kyoiro she remembered. She pours her heart out, swearing she owes him her literal life. Playing it cool, Asai flashes a gentle smile and asks if she's really spilling everything. For 2 whole decades, this girl idolized him as the ultimate savior. Because of that absolute trust, she decides to drop the biggest bombshell. She actually witnessed the darkest, most twisted timeline, and he's the only player who can rewrite it. Pressing her hand to her chest, she begs for his firepower, so they can team up and stop Claudia's apocalyptic ceremony from nuking the globe. Wait, did she actually peek into the future? Kioske asks, completely thrown off. It totally clicks for him as he stares in shock. She confesses she literally time-traveled from a future where Claudia reigns supreme. If they let things keep rolling down this path, the whole world is basically doomed. Breaking a sweat, he repeats her chilling words about a reality ruled by Claudia, knowing he has to step up. In that dark timeline, Asai straight up dies, leaving Shirato utterly shattered and alone. But right as her hero bites the dust, he pulls a crazy move, dumping his void magic into her to trigger a time leap so she can fix this nightmare. Armed with that second chance, she's dead set on stopping that absolute disaster from ever playing out again. Asai quickly pieces it together, asking if Claudia's sketchy ceremony is the trigger for all this mayhem. She nods, explaining that Claudia spawns these insane calamity beasts that just mercilessly wipe out thousands of lives. Utterly floored. Music. Kioske's jaw practically drops hearing that name. 2 decades ago, there was this literally unkillable monster roaming around. They ended up having to lock the thing deep underground. That exact nightmare was a calamity beast. By getting these insanely overpowered creatures on her side, Claudia totally overhauled how the whole world works. She wiped out literally anyone who stood against her, keeping only her super loyal fan club around. Our boy finally gets what this blonde lady is scheming, even though she was supposed to be the ultimate good guy. He flat out asks if she's officially dropping the whole saintly act. Shirato nods, and right then, something super random catches our guy's eye. A mysterious figure drops down from the bell tower, pulling off their disguise while locking eyes with Kioske. It is that same casually dressed girl from before. Shirato jumps in, explaining she recruited Isha to handle all the intel gathering around the tower. Up to this point, everyone thought the girl was just out to rescue her family and save her hometown. Total plot twist though, that was a complete lie. Claudia actually slaughtered her entire family and village. This massive tower? It is sitting right where Isha's home used to be, turned into a creepy headquarters for her cult. Because of this insane betrayal, the poor girl lost absolutely everyone she cared about. There is zero chance she is ever forgiving that monster. If they do not stop Claudia now, we are looking at another massive disaster. That chick genuinely could not care less about the massive body count she is causing, so they desperately need Kioske on the squad to take this villain down. The battle lines are officially drawn. Kioske is fully on board with crashing Claudia's twisted party. Plus, he is feeling the exact same rage as Isha. He is definitely not letting Claudia off the hook either. The two girls just beam at their brand new teammate. He does have one major question though. If they take Claudia out, does that actually cancel the ritual? Shirato drops some bad news. Nope. Claudia is planning to summon the beasts using all that juice she drained from her top guards. Once that energy drops, the summoning goes down whether Claudia is breathing or not. Kioske totally called it. If it was that simple, his future version would have won already. But there is a loophole. An artifact is actually boosting her magic. If they can smash that item to pieces, they can totally ruin her summoning plans. After failing 4 different timelines, this is the first solid lead she has scored. The item is locked at the very top of the cathedral, behind a crazy strong shield. Their one massive advantage? He is already chilling on the 7th floor, and actually has a sit-down booked with Claudia. If he can distract or knock her out during their chat, the girls might be able to smash the artifact while it is unguarded. But there is a pretty massive flaw with this whole idea. The meeting room is going to be packed with guards and priests, meaning stealth is an absolute must. Plus, there is a major red flag. Shirato's time travel powers are glitching out, and she cannot jump back as far anymore. This latest loop barely got her back to right before they even crossed paths, meaning this is straight up their final shot to fix things. Our guy just closes his eyes, trying to hype himself up. If the trio messes this up, the world is totally screwed. But our protagonist is ready to risk it all to bring her down. He refuses to let her crazy script play out again. This is undeniably humanity's final lifeline. If they blow it, they are locking in the darkest timeline imaginable. That is exactly why our guy is going all in to ruin her scheme. Later that night, someone totally stealths their way into the foggy tower. The squad creeps down a super secret staircase, winding up right inside Shirato's hidden base. The room is completely plastered with crazy amounts of intel she hoarded across all her resets. Shirato kicks things off by spilling everything she saw during those 4 doomed runs. In Loop 1, she figured out Claudia's sick goal to summon those calamity beasts. That was also when Kioske originally gave her the time-looping powers. Loop 2 was all about trying to block Claudia's plan, but it was nowhere near that easy. She actually snuck up and landed a totally fatal hit, but it still ended in disaster. The crazy lady just kept coming. Her magic glitched out and spawned the monsters anyway, proving the ritual runs on autopilot even if she dies. On her 3rd try, she completely struck out looking for that magic booster item. Loop 4 let her actually find the thing, but she had literally zero clue how to break it. She wanted so badly to flip the script, but the universe was just not having it. After being forced to watch the world end on repeat, she gives her squad this super hopeful look. Even with all those fails, she scored massive wins like teaming up with Isha. She's literally the only reason they managed to score this sit-down with Claudia. Isha completely set the stage by exposing all that shady corruption down on the 1st level, giving them the perfect opening. She totally orchestrated the guy's entire crazy journey, meticulously pulling the strings to guarantee a top-tier priest was waiting on that 1st level. Thinking back, Asai realizes they'd be absolutely nowhere today if all those crazy dominoes hadn't fallen exactly right. His squad really pulled through, bringing the whole crazy plan together flawlessly. Shirato Sayuki sacrificed literally everything to set this up, definitely hiding a ton of dark, agonizing trauma from her friends. Way back in that original timeline, our main guy begged her to rewrite their tragic fate, and honestly, she took that mission straight to heart. Anyway, Asia makes it totally clear. Their trio has to shut down Claudia's ritual. Smashing her crazy power-boosting relic is an absolute must, which means Kioske has to totally distract Claudia during their chat. That's the only trick to shatter the relic's defensive shield. Shirato completely mapped out the cathedral's insanely complex layout, giving Isa a straight shot to snag the relic. Honestly though, shutting Claudia down is going to be brutal with all those extra priests hovering around. So Kioske has to craft a totally unique spell, one strong enough to rewrite their deeply cursed fate. Meanwhile, Claudia is just chilling upstairs in her private chambers. The villainess knows she is dangerously close to gathering enough magical energy to summon that terrifying apocalyptic beast, but she's definitely planning to have some twisted fun first. Elsewhere, our trio is intensely gearing up for tomorrow's massive showdown. Kioske tells Shirato to seriously stop stressing over their battle prep. He's been obsessively visualizing this complex magic forever, and finally has it completely locked down. Flashing a sweet smile, she earnestly thanks him. But our guy quickly insists he owes her way more, considering she literally looped through time over and over again, staring down an absolutely doomed timeline. He completely understands the crushing isolation of battling alone with heavy future knowledge. He placed his blind faith in her back in Timeline 1, and she fiercely protected that bond across realities. Honestly, he's just insanely grateful and desperately wants to do Shiado justice. Looking her directly in the eye, he sincerely thanks her, intentionally dropping her full name, Shiado Sayuki. Her cheeks instantly flush red, and you can totally see this fresh spark of hope hitting her right in the feels. Freaking out slightly, Kioske asks, "What's wrong?" Blinking back tears, she admits it just feels super weird hearing him go fully formal. Reaching out her hand, she softly requests he just stick to calling her Sayuki from now on. Flashing a grin, Kioske totally agrees. Grabbing her hand back, he makes a hardcore promise that they're going to fix this busted timeline together. Beaming back at him, Sayuki looks instantly recharged, but then Aiza randomly busts in, totally ruining their cute moment, while Sayuki scrambles for excuses, stammering that nothing was going on, though Isha completely ignores her to announce she's fully memorized the cathedral's crazy patrol routes. Our trio is absolutely locked in and incredibly prepared for this ultimate showdown. Kioske's job is keeping Claudia fully distracted, letting Sayuki and Isha sneak in to smash the relic once they get an opening. They do a super dramatic hands-in huddle, swearing to take the win no matter the cost. Flash forward, and the massive meeting day finally drops. Security clears him to enter. Sweating slightly, our guy anxiously wonders how his squad is holding up. Hopefully, they've smoothly sneaked their way up to the target floor, without triggering alarms. Honestly, he's still totally shocked Isha can rock long-distance telepathy. That trick is going to be insanely clutch. Approaching those daunting chamber doors, he mentally crosses his fingers, putting all his faith in the girls. Stepping inside, he immediately locks eyes with this long-haired dude. Turns out it's Ajito, casually mentioning he's been expecting our hero. The guy just nods, waving him right through. Game face absolutely on. Kioske marches straight into the belly of the beast. Naturally, a whole squad of creepy priests is already standing guard. Then, the big moment hits. He's staring dead at Claudia. Clenching his fists, he silently vows not to totally blow the epic opening Sayuki handed him. Staring down the villain who ruined his life, a million chaotic thoughts race through his head. Meanwhile, Claudia just drops this chillingly fake, sweet smile, locking onto him with those piercing deep blue eyes. When she goes awkwardly quiet, a nearby guard asks if something's wrong, but she quickly brushes it off as totally nothing. Everything is playing out literally exactly to plan. His insane illusion magic is currently masking his true vibe, making him look absolutely nothing like himself. Sure, an overpowered boss like Claudia can eventually crack his glamour, but it definitely takes time. In those alternative futures, Sayuki watched him pull this exact stunt twice. Both times, it took Claudia roughly 5 minutes to shatter the illusion. The crazy catch to his ultimate attack? It literally needs a solid chunk of time to charge up after locking intense eye contact with the victim. So basically, Kioske is on a ticking clock to trigger his trump card before Claudia clocks his actual identity. At the exact same time, Sayuki gets ready to pull her weight. Peeking around the corner, she spots the top floors are still swarming with guards, meaning a total beatdown is her only option. Keeping out of sight, she waits for shift change, watching the totally chill new guy who's about to have a terrible day. Out of nowhere, a massive blast completely shatters the wall. An intruder crashes the party, instantly flooring one of the goons while the other guy just stands there completely shook. Just past 1 o'clock, hits the perfect window for the girls to strike, while these guards are totally hyper-focused elsewhere. Sayuki absolutely goes off on these clueless security dudes. Glowing with crazy bright energy, she's totally locked in, prompting one panicked guard to scream for backup from Lady Claudia. While a couple of lackeys scramble to radio it in, a shadow creeps up right behind them. Aiza, music, totally crashes the scene with flawless timing, knocking them both out cold before they can snitch to their boss. With that flawless sneak attack wrapped up, the duo completely wipes the floor with the remaining muscle. Sayuki's intel was totally spot on. Now they just gotta chill until Kioske locks Claudia down, dropping that massive force field so they can finally smash the target. Shutting her eyes, Sayuki shoots a quick mind text over to her teammate. Kioske catches the mental ping right as some sketchy holy dude drops a cross on his head for a blessing. Glancing up, he totally knows the whole squad's survival rests squarely on his shoulders now. The girls crushed phase 1 without breaking a sweat, and he's definitely not gonna be the one who fumbles the bag. Based on Sayuki's leaks, these cult vibes always kick off with a boring speech from the tier 6 clergyman, but that's honestly just totally fake cover stuff, since Claudia's actual endgame is way darker. While that's happening, tier 7 boss Sinus Lester is secretly scanning our boys' raw magic levels. This whole meetup is basically just a trap for Claudia to siphon juice from elite followers, meaning weaklings get booted instantly. Luckily, our dude is anything but basic. Once he actually gets a read on those magic stats, Sinus Lester completely loses his mind over how ridiculously stacked the kid is. The priest immediately brain dials Claudia, stressing that they absolutely need to keep this VIP alive. That earns a super cocky smirk from our guy, officially checking off step 2 of their mastermind plot. Totally losing her chill, Claudia starts cracking up out of nowhere, completely creeping out her cult guys while bragging that her paranoid vibes finally make sense. Walking right up to our main guy, she drops the bombshell that Kyoichiro literally never died. Her minions are totally shook by the news, right as the hero's disguise magic starts glitching out way too early. Ripping off his cover, the villainess grabs his jaw and drops a super creepy line about finally seeing his true face. Flexing her magic radar, she totally calls out his exact illusion spell, based on his insane aura size alone. She's genuinely hyped about it since everyone assumed the kid got completely wrecked during the Ingolf fight. The blonde boss figures there's a way deeper conspiracy here, but she honestly doesn't care enough to dig into it. Wiping him out right now solves all her problems, causing Sayuki to absolutely panic as she realizes Kyoichiro is totally trapped. Our guy doesn't even sweat it though, knowing this super paranoid villain would totally make her henchmen do the dirty work. Right on cue, Claudia calls for the hit, while a totally unhinged cultist whips out a syringe to kick off their backup plan. One by one, he literally stabs his squad with super sketchy combat steroids, whipped up by Rei Luoxi. Against a crew of roided-out magic users, Kyoichiro should be dead meat, but he is totally not going down like that. Music. Flexing his own power, he blasts out this crazy crystal barrage that drops the entire squad, leaving Claudia looking completely foolish. The whole setup is playing out exactly how our boy scripted it. At last, music. He's primed for the big finisher, as a sick purple shockwave explodes outward, instantly flattening the leftover lackeys. Claudia just stands there totally shook by the ultimate flex, throwing her hands up as the magic literally rips them into a separate dimension. It's an absolute lockdown zone, where nobody can leech outside energy, basically trapping her like a helpless pet bird. Completely boxed in. Music. Claudia freaks out and demands to know what the heck his endgame is with this crazy barrier. Kyoichiro drops the mic, saying he's about to absolutely shatter her magic-boosting artifact, which is gonna permanently cancel those nightmare monsters from spawning, since throwing her in timeout instantly drops the loot security system. Hearing the kid perfectly leak her entire super-secret blueprint, Claudia completely loses it and starts looking utterly terrified. The girl claps back, pointing out that Kyoichiro is stuck in here too. How is he supposed to wreck the artifact while locked up? But the moment those words leave her mouth, the blonde's face completely drops. Smirking, Kyoichiro teases that she finally connected the dots. Totally furious, she balls up her fists and demands to know if he brought some backup. That would totally explain how he knew about the artifact and trusted his sidekick to handle the demolition. Dropping the act entirely, our main guy admits he is just trying to stop those disaster monsters from spawning. Kyoichiro yells out with absolute confidence that she is not going anywhere until that thing is smashed to pieces. Claudia starts thinking about that one assistant who always hovered around, constantly watching her every single move. That girl vanished days ago. Plus, the priestess worked so hard to guarantee either Ingolf or Kyoichiro ended up dead back then. Both guys surviving was literally impossible unless someone actively messed with her mind control magic. Everything clicks perfectly now. Sayuki is the one helping Kyoichiro behind the scenes. Honestly, Claudia feels super let down because she had massive hopes for this guy. Had his time abilities actually maxed out, he would have been the ultimate pawn. Now, he is just garbage to her. It literally feels like some random thief snatched up her prize right before payday. Channeling pure energy into her palm, the blonde summons a shiny golden blade, threatening to slice him up and break out. Just like Sayuki warned, Claudia was secretly draining energy from her strongest disciples during their meetups. Now, she wants to suck Kyoichiro dry of his power to bust out of there, completely ready to murder him just to escape. Claudia goes completely on the offensive, though Kyoichiro only really cares about keeping her locked inside. She throws a crazy flurry of slashes at our hero, but he casually weaves past every single one without blinking. Sayuki warned him that killing Claudia would not stop the monster spawn anyway. Kyoichiro smoothly slides right behind her back. He knows killing her is off the table entirely. His only mission is holding aggro until Suki and Isha wreck the core. Moving like an absolute pro dancer, he flawlessly matches her rhythm and steps around every deadly swing. Getting a bit cocky, the hero mocks her basic attacks for being way too slow. Out of nowhere, she spawns a crossbow. Fueled by pure magic and absolute rage, she starts blasting bolt after bolt straight at him. A stray shot barely misses Kyoichiro by a millimeter, forcing him into a clutch dodge as he studies the incoming ammo. These darts are literally soaked in mind control magic, exactly like the nasty trick she pulled on Ingolf earlier. Laughing like an absolute psycho, the blonde brags that one single hit will instantly be game over for him. Getting brainwashed sounds terrible, but our guy refuses to quit weaving. She is going to need better aim to actually nail him. Stopping for a second, the villainess mentions she has a fun little secret to share. She brags about having other elite goons besides Sayuki. Someone else is guarding the artifact, and he definitely knows how bad that is. Cut over to Isha, who points ahead and hypes up that they finally located the target. It is the energy-boosting artifact, looking like a giant messy machine. Sayuki knows they gotta smash that thing immediately, but suddenly, some guy blocks their path to the prize. Trespassers in this zone get wiped out on sight. Those are straight orders from Lady Claudia. As the official guard, Agido Norman refuses to let anyone break his precious machine. Glaring daggers at them, the dude demands to know why Claudia's supposedly loyal helper is suddenly playing for the enemy team. The girl just shrugs and refuses to explain herself. Exactly like her future visions showed, Norman is the real top dog here. If our heroines want to wreck the artifact, they gotta go straight through him to do it. At first, Agido acts super depressed about her backstabbing, but quickly flips to celebrating the whole thing instead. He thinks this proves who really belongs as Claudia's favorite. Smiling back, Sayuki roasts him and says she literally does not care. Still, Agido fires back that even with her totally gone, he has massive motivation. Growing up, his parents were insanely toxic, and Claudia was the angel who swooped in to rescue him. Isha tries hitting him with reality, saying the boss lady was just hoarding overpowered kids, not doing charity work. Norman ignores her, calling Claudia his absolute savior, who taught him that ultimate power is the only way to survive. From that day on, the guy pledged his life to her, craving that top spot right by her side. But the priestess played favorites with Sayuki just for having rare time magic. Honestly, that made her his biggest rival ever. Getting a free pass to finally eliminate her feels like pure destiny to him. Shook by his crazy logic, Isha drops the bomb that Claudia's entire vibe is literally world domination and bringing out those nightmare monsters. Wildly enough, Agido does not even care. He deadass thinks her twisted goals are the ultimate ticket to saving everyone. Sayuki tells Isha to stop wasting breath on him. Giving a death glare, she swears they are absolutely not letting this dude block their path. This guy is definitely no holy man. Running that division's 5th sector? Totally fake. Just a cover story. In reality, he is practically the main villain's #1 lackey. She specifically picked him to guard the artifact because his fighting skills are actually insane. Honestly, before looping back, he literally murdered her in past lives. He worships his boss like a deity and lives purely to execute her orders. So naturally, he is out for blood to finish the job, forcing our duo into total defense mode. Packing major trauma from that psycho blonde, Isha refuses to take a loss against her obsessed fanboy. The priest is genuinely shocked, discovering she survived her hometown getting wiped out 10 years back. Glaring daggers, she snaps at him for acting stunned and aggressively rejects any fake sympathy he might offer, but the dude brutally shuts her down, saying she ought to feel incredibly blessed to have survived all that trauma. That completely unhinged take leaves both of them absolutely stunned. He argues his deity can never do wrong, period. Destroying her entire neighborhood? Just pure divine intervention, according to him. And witnessing that holy destruction firsthand, he calls it an absolute privilege. Shaking with pure rage, she screams at him to close his mouth. Whipping out her blade while crying, she vows to make him pay for disrespecting her terrible history. Pulling his own weapon, the cultist just shrugs it off as differing opinions, claiming he is merely spreading the gospel. Echoing his leader, he insists this universe desperately requires a massive cleanse. Aiming his blade at Sayuki, she fires back that he is totally brainwashed and guarantees they are definitely winning this fight, taunting them to bring it on. A dark purple energy surrounds him while he flexes that they have zero chance. Instantly, the guy disappears into thin air. Exactly like predicted, he spams teleportation and cloaking spells for sneaky ambush strikes. Our heroine actually rocks a super rare time-based power, but right now it is totally locked away. Basically, defending against this incoming hit seems impossible. He rushes in aggressively, targeting her directly. She catches him coming, eyes huge, yet cleanly sidesteps the lethal slash, completely blowing his mind. Somehow, she evaded a strike coming from an absolute unseeable angle. Since he literally never revealed this invisibility trick around her, he is freaking out over her reaction speed. Catching something glowing out back, he notices her energy shining yellow, instantly recognizing it as temporal sorcery. Crazy enough, she unlocked that mythical tier ability, something a so-called rebel definitely should not possess. Yet, here she is, flexing absolute control over it, and casually sidestepping every single swing. She grabbed more than just time rewinding from her mentor. She also snagged micro foresight, letting her peep 1 second ahead. She cannot gaze as far into the future as him yet, but honestly, this spell remains insanely broken during battles. Wanting to sync up their offensive moves instantly, Isha demands they keep an open telepathic channel. Locking eyes on the bad guy, she nods. The priest remembers hearing her master utilized similar prediction spells flawlessly, so he quickly pieces together that she is doing exactly the same thing. Suddenly, a warning drops. Shouting about a left side incoming slash, she helps her teammate flawlessly avoid the deadly edge. The villain figures out she is reading his every step and knows they are definitely talking secretly. Sure, they lack his raw muscle, but sharing intel means they can literally dance around everything he throws. Initially, splitting off from the main squad had her stressing hard, but she quickly realized some epic missions require their specific touch. Staring him down, she enters the zone completely. Through their link, she calls out that the dude is planning to back up. Using an arrow spell, she blocks his exit. He panics, realizing she is literally guessing his exact escape routes now. Throwing up his blade, he desperately tries guarding against the massive tornado heading straight for him. The impact creates a crazy huge blast right there. When the smoke clears, his shattered weapon hits the dirt. Suddenly, it all clicks for him why his boss was always so obsessed with keeping her close. Flashing this glowing ring, the dude claims their teamwork is just getting in his way. Sayuki glares right back, totally aware that jewelry unlocks insane hidden powers, and Norman is super desperate to fight right beside his goddess and be her absolute favorite. Suddenly, the priest's body shifts into something completely freaky. The girls just watch as he straight up morphs into a horrifying beast. Ajito yells that his goddess will only have eyes for him now, while his hands literally turn into massive, razor-sharp claws. Flexing his new arms, he easily smashes through the walls and chucks the massive rubble right at the girls. Ajito is completely blown away by this massive power upgrade Claudia promised him. The beast swears he'll absolutely crush anyone dumb enough to go against her orders. Sayuki checks if her partner is ready, because the real showdown officially starts right now. That ring from Claudia literally turned Ajito into a total freak, kicking off the actual boss fight. The beast roars that his boss is super close to making a brand new world, and he desperately wants to witness that paradise himself. Taking down anyone against her is his absolute mission. He's especially gunning for Shirato, who actually had the nerve to backstab his boss's inner circle. Vegito vows to be the one punishing the backstabber, before the beast suddenly rushes straight at the girls. Just the shockwave from him moving is completely insane. Taking a direct hit from that would totally wipe them out. Aiza scrambles to steady herself for a counterattack. Since the guy is massive now, he's basically a giant, easy target. She goes totally all out, rushing him while charging up a massive spell, but Ajito just brings his arm up to block, effortlessly tanking the entire magical hit. Asa is totally shook that the beast tanked her magic barehanded. Sayuki, as the background music builds, watching the whole thing go down, is completely speechless too. Out of nowhere, a massive pillar starts crashing down. Sayuki realizes that huge column is flying right at her. Ahito literally ripped it out to use as a baseball bat, managing to smack both girls. After landing the hit, he just casually rests the giant pillar on the ground like it weighs absolutely nothing. Norman is flexing super hard, totally hyped about the insane power Claudia gave him. We're talking crazy strength and bulletproof defense. That is the wild kind of power Claudia can hand out. Even with time magic, beating a guy blessed by a goddess is impossible. Sayuki barely dodged a lethal hit thanks to her crazy quick reflexes. But with that ring, Ajito's power is absolutely off the charts. His tanky defense is seriously annoying too. Even Isha's powerful wind spells barely left a single scratch on him. Sayuki glances at her partner, who's slumped over and looking super beat up from that pillar strike. She stands back up and walks right toward the monster. Looking totally confident, she knows they can still clutch a win, mostly thanks to the advice Kioichiro gave them earlier. Ahito is low-key shocked she's still on her feet, and totally confused why she's still trying so hard to fight back. Super annoyed, Shira snaps back that it's super obvious. She wants to ruin Claudia's master plan. Norman fires back that he literally cannot comprehend that. He thinks rejecting a literal goddess makes zero sense. But Sayuki stares him down and firmly declares that she's no goddess at all. Claudia has already ruined thousands of lives and plans to hurt way more. Plus, as the track drops, she doesn't even deserve her throne. She promised everyone a super safe, stable life, but she only got her power by totally backstabbing her partner, someone that toxic and fake shouldn't ever be called a goddess. It finally clicks for Ajito that Sayuki's heavy obsession with taking Claudia down is all because of Misado Kioichiro. But to him, that's literally irrelevant. He was just a guy who died. She and that girl with the wrecked village are exactly the same. They need to drop their pointless pasts and just focus on the awesome future Claudia is currently building. If they have to die to make this perfect world happen, they should honestly be proud. But if they want to stay completely in denial, whatever. Since they made their choice, they're both getting wiped out right here. Sayuki roasts him, saying for a guy obsessed with the future, his words are incredibly shallow. Ajito has absolutely zero clue what she means. She calls him out for only caring about Claudia's views. He's totally ignoring the deep trauma people carry and the actual future they're fighting for. Both girls have survived pure heartbreak. And with the soundtrack pumping, that's exactly why they're pushing past their limits right now. They refuse to lose to a total simp who just keeps parroting Claudia's orders. Sayuki's speech completely triggers Ajito. The beast screams that their pain is totally meaningless and swears he'll personally shut their annoying mouths forever. Right on cue, Aiza chucks a fast dagger. Sayuki snatches it right out of the air, pointing it directly at the ugly monster, rushing her down. Seeing her hold a weapon, the beast laughs it off as a desperate, cheap trick, bragging that absolutely nothing can take him down. The bad guy charges in, but Shirato totally holds her ground. She easily dodges, warping right behind Ajito to line up a fatal dagger strike. Getting up close, she pours pure energy into the attack and slams her weapon right into the beast's spine. The corrupted priest takes the hit but instantly brushes it off, lunging forward to snatch her. He brags that a basic blade won't even scratch him. But mid-lunge, the freak realizes something is totally off just as Sayuki touches down gracefully. Norman's gross body literally starts glitching back to his normal human self. Turns out, her strike was secretly loaded with time-reversing magic. They call this crazy spell inverted fate. It literally messes with reality, rewinding the victim's timeline. Basically, Agito got blasted straight back to the exact second before he ever wore that ring. The dude looks absolutely furious, immediately trying to vanish into thin air with his stealth mirage trick. But glowing green energy is already locking onto his skull. Isha's wind spell hits him instantly, making the creep realize he just walked into a massive trap. Isha rushes the guy, since his practically invincible armor is totally gone now. Like they swore earlier, there is no way they are losing to trash like him. Wrecked by their brutal combo attack, the villain completely eats dirt. Looking at his beaten, knocked out body, Sayuki points out that the fake holy man was only ever obsessed with Claudia. A total scumbag like him has zero right lecturing anyone about history or destiny. Over at Kyoichiro's gateway, Claudia gets hit by a massive vibe shift. Cue the dramatic music, because she immediately recognizes that terrible sinking feeling. Sayuki and Aisha actually pulled off their crazy mission. That sketchy magic-boosting relic is totally history. Now our main character can finally go all out, with zero limits. Drop a comment below and rate this epic chapter from 0 to 10. Honestly, I am not even sure how I would rank this magical arc myself.